The slipstream corridor collapsed without warning. One moment, the Andromeda Ascendant was riding the quantum pathway between star systems, a route Baker Valentine had piloted successfully dozens of times. The next moment, reality itself was tearing apart around them. "Dylan, we've got a problem!" Baker's hands flew across her pilot controls, her instincts screaming as the slipstream route destabilized. The Andromeda's bridge, that elegant space of curved surfaces and holographic displays, suddenly bathed in emergency red lighting. Captain Dylan Hunt gripped his command chair, his 3 centuries of high guard experience telling him this wasn't a normal route collapse.
"Report. Slipstream route is fragmenting." Harper's voice cracked with panic from engineering. The young genius was already routing power through backup systems. "Boss!"
This isn't a natural collapse. We're intersecting with something else, some kind of massive artificial gravity well that shouldn't exist in slipstream space. On the main view screen, the quantum tunnel they were traveling through twisted impossibly. Colors that had no names in human language flickered across the display. The ship shuddered as forces that defied Commonwealth physics tore at its hull. Tyr Anasazi stood at his tactical station, his Nietzschean bone blades tensing reflexively as his predatory instincts recognized mortal danger. "Captain, whatever we're hitting, it's artificial. I'm detecting technology, ancient, powerful, and operating on principles our sensors can't properly analyze." "Romy analysis," Dylan commanded, turning to the ship's holographic avatar. Romy, the Andromeda Ascendant's AI given humanoid form, materialized beside Dylan's chair. Her face, usually composed with that mixture of artificial precision and learned humanity, showed genuine concern. "Dylan, we've intersected with what appears to be a stable artificial wormhole, not a slipstream route, something completely different. The dimensional frequencies are incompatible with our universe's quantum framework." "Translation?" Dylan demanded. "We're being pulled into another reality," Romy said flatly, "and I can't stop it." The Andromeda lurched violently. Structural alarms screamed throughout the ship. In the hydroponics bay, Rev Bem, the Magog monk who served as the ship's spiritual advisor and medic, clung to a support beam while offering prayers to the divine. In her quarters, Trance Gemini's golden eyes widened as she felt something her purple-skinned alien physiology could sense but not articulate. Reality itself was shifting. "All hands brace for dimensional transit," Dylan ordered across ship-wide comms. "Romy, route all available power to structural integrity fields. Harper, I need engines, any engines, now." "Working on it, boss?" Harper's voice was barely audible over the sound of failing systems. "But whatever we hit just fried half our primary power conduits. The slipstream drive is completely offline. I'm trying to bring conventional engines online, but..." The universe inverted. That was the only way Dylan's 300-year-old mind could process what happened next. Every atom in his body felt like it was being simultaneously pulled apart and compressed. The bridge disappeared into white light. Sound ceased to exist, and for one eternal moment, Captain Dylan Hunt existed between universes, seeing possibilities that no human mind was meant to comprehend. Then reality snapped back with brutal finality. The Andromeda materialized in normal space, with enough kinetic energy to trigger every collision alarm on the ship. Dylan's vision cleared to show a new star system on the view screen, a yellow sun, a small blue planet in the habitable zone, orbital debris and artificial satellites that suggested spacefaring civilization, but the ship was dying around them. "Damage report," Dylan barked, running through mental triage protocols from his High Guard Academy days. "Slipstream drive is completely offline," Romy reported, her avatar flickering slightly. evidence of strain on the ship's computational systems. Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Power generation at 43%. Life support is stable, but we've lost primary sensors. Dylan, I'm detecting massive system incompatibilities. The quantum framework here is fundamentally different from our universe. The slipstream drive isn't broken. It's incompatible with local space-time. Meaning we can't go home, Becca said quietly, her pilot's intuition already understanding what Rami wasn't saying directly. Not using slipstream, Rami confirmed. Not unless we can somehow modify the drive to operate under different universal constants, which would require technology and understanding we don't currently possess. Tyre's expression remained carefully neutral, but Dylan caught the slight tightening around his eyes. The Nietzschean was already calculating survival odds for a crew stranded in an alien universe. Captain, we have immediate concerns. This system is inhabited. I'm detecting significant orbital infrastructure around the third planet and... He paused, checking his displays. Multiple military-grade satellites are already locking targeting solutions on us. They think we're hostile, Dylan said, recognizing the tactical pattern. Can't blame them. We just appeared in their orbit unannounced in a warship. Should I power weapons? Tyre asked, his Nietzschean instincts favoring overwhelming force as the solution to most problems. Negative, Dylan ordered. We're the unknown quantity here. We establish peaceful contact. Romy, can you access their communication frequencies? The ship's avatar was already working. I'm detecting multiple broadcast channels, radio, laser communication, some kind of hyperwave technology that's surprisingly sophisticated for their apparent tech level, and Romy's expression shifted to surprised recognition. Dylan, they're broadcasting in English. Multiple dialects, but definitely English. That's impossible, Becca said from her pilot station. We're in another universe, the odds of them speaking. They're human. Rev Bem's deep, resonant voice came through the comm from the medbay. I can sense them through the divine. These are humans, just like us. Somehow, across dimensional barriers, humanity exists here. Dylan processed this information rapidly. Humans, speaking English, with spacefaring technology but not advanced enough to casually handle an unknown capital ship appearing in their orbit. That suggested either early space age or a civilization recovering from setback. Romy, open hailing frequencies, all standard first contact protocols. Let's introduce ourselves before they decide to shoot first and ask questions later. The ship's communication systems activated, broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Dylan stood, straightening his high guard uniform, that elegant combination of military precision and ceremonial tradition, and prepared to deliver the speech he'd given 100 times during Commonwealth expansion operations. Except this time, the Commonwealth was gone. His crew was stranded, and they were entirely at the mercy of whatever civilization controlled this system. This is Captain Dylan Hunt of the Andromeda Ascendant, representing the system's Commonwealth High Guard, Dylan began, his voice carrying the professional diplomacy of a career officer. We've experienced a catastrophic dimensional transit failure and have been displaced from our home universe. We mean no harm to your world. We're requesting emergency assistance and diplomatic contact with your planetary government. Silence followed for 17 seconds, long enough for Dylan to wonder if they'd even received the transmission. Then response came. Audio only, male voice carrying authority and carefully controlled suspicion. Captain Hunt, this is General Hank Landry, United States Air Force Stargate Command. You just appeared in orbit above a planet that's had extensive experience with hostile aliens showing up unannounced. Before we continue this conversation, I'm going to need more information about your ship, your dimensional transit, and exactly how you ended up here. Dylan caught Becca's eye. She mouthed the word Stargate with confused expression. None of them had any idea what that meant. General Landry, we're willing to provide full transparency, Dylan replied. My chief engineer believes our slipstream drive, our faster-than-light propulsion system, intersected with what appears to be an artificial wormhole of tremendous sophistication. The collision tore us from our dimensional framework and deposited us here. Our ability to return home is currently uncertain. Another pause. Then, Captain Hunt, stand by. We're going to establish visual communication and bring in our senior staff. And Captain, I'm ordering our orbital defense platforms to maintain weapons. Lock on your position. Nothing personal. Just standard protocol when unknown warships appear without invitation. The channel went quiet. Well, Tyr said dryly, at least they're honest about pointing weapons at us. If you want to see more characters in this galaxy or beyond this galaxy, simply hit that like button and subscribe, and drop the name of the character you will love to see next in the comment. May the Force be with you. The visual link established, and Dylan found himself looking at a military command center that reminded him painfully of Commonwealth facilities, functional, efficient, designed for warfare. The man on screen appeared to be in his 50s with gray hair and the weathered look of an officer who'd commanded through multiple crises. General Landry, Dylan acknowledged, thank you for agreeing to talk before shooting. Don't thank me yet, Captain, Landry replied. His expression was carefully neutral, but Dylan recognized the evaluation happening behind those eyes, the same assessment Dylan made when encountering unknown forces. We've had numerous encounters with beings claiming to mean no harm who turned out to be false gods, parasitic aliens, or interdimensional conquerors. So, you'll understand if we're cautious. I would be too, Dylan admitted. Behind Landry, Dylan could see other personnel. A woman in Air Force uniform with major's insignia, a civilian in glasses who looked like an academic, and a tall, dark-skinned man with an unusual gold emblem on his forehead. General, I commanded Commonwealth vessels for 300 years before my ship was caught in a time dilation field near a black hole. I've conducted first contact with over 40 species. I understand caution, but I also understand when a situation requires trust. Landry's eyebrow rose slightly. 300 years? Long story involving relativistic physics and temporal distortion, Dylan said. The short version, I'm technically over 300, but I've only experienced about 40 subjective years. Time dilation is complicated. The woman behind Landry leaned forward, her interest clearly piqued. Captain Hunt, I'm Major Samantha Carter, USAF. Your ship, the energy signatures we're reading are unlike anything in our databases. Your power generation appears similar to what we call zero-point modules, but the dimensional frequencies are wrong, like your technology operates on different universal constants. That's exactly what our AI concluded, Dylan confirmed. Major Carter, we're from a universe where certain quantum frameworks apparently differ from yours. Our slipstream drive manipulates quantum probability to create faster-than-light corridors. But those corridors don't exist in your universe. We're not just displaced spatially, we're displaced dimensionally. The academic-looking man spoke next, adjusting his glasses. I'm Dr. Daniel Jackson. Captain, you mentioned an artificial wormhole. We may have insight into what you encountered. The technology you're describing sounds like it interacted with Earth's Stargate, a device built millions of years ago by an advanced race called the Ancients. It creates stable wormholes for instantaneous travel across the galaxy. Dylan felt hope flicker despite the desperate situation. Dr. Jackson, a wormhole network built by an ancient precursor civilization, could explain exactly what happened. Our slipstream drive intersected with one of these wormholes during transit. The collision between incompatible technologies tore us through dimensional barriers. "And stranded you here," the tall man with the gold emblem said. His voice was deep, measured, carrying weight that suggested either great age or great experience. "I am Teal'c of the Free Jaffa Nation. Captain Hunt, your words carry the weight of sincerity. However, we have learned through bitter experience that appearances can deceive." "Teal'c is right," Landry said. "Captain, before we proceed further, I need to understand your ship's capabilities. Our sensors indicate a vessel approximately 1.3 kilometers in length, with weapon systems and defensive capabilities that exceed anything in our current arsenal. That makes you either a potential ally or a significant threat." Dylan made a decision. In his centuries of command, he'd learned that sometimes calculated honesty was the best tactical approach. "General, full disclosure, the Andromeda Ascendant is a glorious heritage-class heavy cruiser. We carry 40-point defense laser turrets, multiple missile batteries, and an anti-proton cannons as primary weapons. Our defensive shields can withstand sustained bombardment from capital ships. In a direct engagement, we could likely inflict severe damage to your orbital infrastructure." The temperature in the visible command center dropped several degrees. Dylan saw hands moving toward weapons, defensive postures being assumed. "However," Dylan continued quickly, "we have absolutely zero interest in hostility. General, the systems Commonwealth I served, the government I represented, fell 300 years ago in my timeline. I've spent the last 5 years trying to rebuild civilization in a galaxy that had descended into chaos and warlordism. I've fought pirates, warlords, and tyrants. I've protected worlds that couldn't protect themselves. The absolute last thing I want is to bring more chaos to a world that's already dealing with hostile aliens." Landry studied him for a long moment. "You said the Commonwealth fell. What happened?" Dylan's expression darkened with memories he'd carried for 5 years. Civil war, economic collapse, external invasions. The Commonwealth was a union of 3 galaxies, dozens of species, trillions of citizens. It was supposed to last forever. Instead, it tore itself apart when too many people decided their individual survival mattered more than collective responsibility. He met Landry's eyes directly. "I spent 300 years frozen in time, unable to help, while everything I'd fought for collapsed. I won't make the same mistakes here." "That's quite a story," Major Carter said carefully. "Captain, if what you're saying is true, if you've genuinely crossed dimensional barriers, you may be able to provide insight into phenomenon we've encountered. We've dealt with quantum mirrors, alternate realities, timeline divergences. But never an actual alternate universe incursion," Daniel finished. "This is unprecedented. If dimensional barriers can be crossed, if universes can interact, then the implications are staggering." Dylan agreed. "Dr. Jackson, believe me, we're as concerned as you are. If we punch through dimensional barriers, what else might be able to follow? What other threats might use the same pathway?" Tyre's voice came from off-screen, just loud enough to be heard. "Captain, we're detecting increased military activity in the system. Multiple vessels are maneuvering to intercept positions around us." Dylan didn't break eye contact with Landry. "General, I'm guessing those are your ships taking up tactical positions. I respect that. But I'm asking you to meet with us face to face before deciding whether we're threats or potential allies. Let me bring a small delegation to your facility." We'll submit to whatever security protocols you require. Just give us the chance to explain our situation properly." Landry conferred quietly with his staff. Dylan could see the debate happening. Carter appearing to argue for cautious engagement, Teal maintaining neutral observation, Daniel clearly fascinated by the anthropological implications. Finally, Landry spoke. "Captain Hunt, we're prepared to offer you temporary sanctuary. However, you should know that Earth is currently facing threats from multiple hostile forces. Your arrival comes at a complicated time." "General, complications are something my crew has considerable experience navigating," Dylan replied. "We accept your offer." "There's one more thing," Major Carter interjected, her expression curious. "Captain, you mentioned your ship has an AI. Is that artificial intelligence or something else?" "Romy is a fully sentient artificial intelligence," Dylan confirmed. "She operates the ship, manages all systems, and can manifest through an android body for physical interactions. She'll want to meet you in person." "A sentient warship," Landry said slowly. "Captain Hunt, you're right about one thing. This is going to be interesting. Stand by for Stargate coordinates. We'll transport you down." The channel closed. Dylan turned to find his senior staff had assembled on the bridge. During the conversation, Becca leaned against her pilot station, arms crossed. Tyre stood at tactical, his Nietzschean features unreadable. Harper had emerged from engineering, looking both terrified and excited. Rev Bem's massive Magog form filled the doorway, his insectoid features somehow managing to convey concern. Entranced Gemini perched on a console, her purple tail swishing with nervous energy. "Well," Becca said dryly, "we wanted adventure. Looks like we found it." "Thoughts?" Dylan asked his crew, the people who'd followed him through 5 years of impossible situations. "They're scared of us," Tyre observed, "but they're also desperate enough to take the risk of meeting. That suggests either confidence in their defenses or genuine openness to alliance." "Or both," Rev Bem rumbled. "Dylan, I sense something significant about this world. The divine has brought us here for a purpose. These humans fight against forces that mirror the evil we battled in our own galaxy." "Harper?" Dylan prompted his engineer. "Boss, if they've got technology that can create stable wormholes and it's millions of years old, we need to learn about it. That kind of tech might be the only way we ever get home." Harper's usual bravado was subdued by the enormity of their situation. But also, these people have been fighting hostile aliens for a while. They're traumatized. We need to be careful not to trigger any PTSD responses. "Becca?" His first officer met his eyes. "Dylan, we've got nowhere else to go. The Andromeda is damaged, the slipstream drive doesn't work here, and we're in a universe we don't understand. We take the help they're offering, prove ourselves trustworthy, and hope that's enough." "Romy?" The ship's avatar materialized fully, her expression thoughtful. "Dylan, I've been analyzing their communication protocols and information in their public broadcasts. This Earth has a complex history. They've been enslaved by alien parasites posing as gods for thousands of years. They've only recently broken free. That kind of trauma creates both extreme caution and fierce determination. We should approach them with respect for both." Dylan nodded, processing all the input. This was what made his crew effective. Diverse perspectives, honest assessments, and the willingness to speak truth to command authority. "All right, small delegation, I'll go. Romy, you're with me. They need to meet our AI and understand she's not a threat. Harper, you come too. If we're going to discuss our drive failure, we need our chief engineer, Tyre." "I remain with the ship," Tyr interrupted. "Someone needs to command the Andromeda while you're gone. And if these humans prove treacherous, Someone needs to ensure the crew survives. It was pragmatic, typical Nietzschean thinking, but Dylan also recognized the underlying concern. Tyre didn't trust easily, and he was preparing contingencies if this went wrong. Agreed. Becca, you're acting captain while I'm gone. Rev, keep monitoring our guests through the divine. If they're plotting against us, I want to know. Trance, keep an eye on the ship's systems. Something about this universe makes me think we'll encounter more unexpected failures. Orders given, Dylan moved toward the conference room, where the Andromeda kept transport equipment. Within minutes, they'd have Stargate coordinates and would be stepping into the most significant first contact situation since the Commonwealth's founding. A crew of 6 stranded in an alien universe, making first contact with humans who'd been slaves to false gods. What could possibly go wrong? The Stargate was beautiful in a way Dylan hadn't expected. The Andromeda's transport system had beamed Dylan, Romy, and Harper directly to coordinates provided by Stargate Command, a small platform in high orbit. From there, they watched as the massive ring below them activated, chevrons locking in sequence with mechanical precision, a shimmering event horizon forming within the circle. "That's," Harper breathed, his engineering mind clearly blown. "Boss, that's a stable wormhole. Actually stable, held open by some kind of exotic matter framework. The power requirements alone should be impossible, but it's just sitting there, working perfectly, after millions of years." "The ancients were quite advanced," Romy observed, her android eyes analyzing the structure in multiple spectrums simultaneously. "This device manipulates space-time at a quantum level. The engineering tolerances are extraordinary." Dylan studied the gate with a commander's eye for strategic infrastructure. "It's a network. Dr. Jackson said it creates travel across galaxies. That means there must be thousands of these gates, all interconnected, allowing instantaneous transit between worlds." "It's like the slipstream," Harper said slowly, "but better, more reliable, more predictable. Boss, if we could understand how this works, maybe we could adapt it to get us home." "One problem at a time, Harper," Dylan cautioned. "Right now, we need to establish trust. Then we can worry about impossible engineering challenges." The transport system activated again, depositing them directly in front of the gate on the orbital platform. A moment later, the event horizon rippled and a figure emerged from the wormhole. Human, female, Air Force uniform with colonel's insignia, medium height, blonde hair pulled back in regulation style. She moved with military precision, carrying what appeared to be an automatic weapon, primitive by Commonwealth standards, but functional. "Captain Hunt," the woman asked, her voice professional. "I'm Colonel Samantha Carter. General Landry sent me to escort you down personally." Her eyes moved to Romy, and Dylan saw the momentary widening, the brief flash of recognition. "Colonel Carter," Dylan acknowledged, extending his hand in the universal human gesture. "This is Romy, the Andromeda Ascendant's android avatar, and Seamus Harper, my chief engineer." Carter shook his hand, but her eyes kept drifting back to Romy. "Commander," she started, then caught herself. "I'm sorry, it's just, you look exactly like someone I know. General Landry's daughter, actually, Dr. Carolyn Lamb. The resemblance is uncanny." Romy tilted her head, processing. "Interesting. Dylan, the probability of dimensional counterparts having identical appearances is statistically improbable, but not impossible. Quantum mechanics suggests that fundamental patterns might repeat across universal frameworks." "You're telling me there's a version of you in this universe?" Harper blurted out. "That's wild. Does she have an awesome warship body tube? Or is she just regular human?" Dr. Lamb is entirely human and serves as chief medical officer here, Carter replied, professional composure returning. But Captain Hunt, this is something we'll need to discuss. If your crew members have dimensional counterparts here, that could create complications. Noted, Dillon said. Colonel, we're ready to proceed whenever you are. Carter gestured toward the Stargate. Have you ever traveled through a wormhole before? Not like this, Dillon admitted. Commonwealth slipstream travel is different. We move through quantum probability space. This appears to be actual space-time manipulation. It is, Carter confirmed, her scientific enthusiasm breaking through professional reserve. The Stargate creates a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge between 2 points in space. Matter is converted to energy, transmitted through the wormhole, and reconstituted at the destination. It's instantaneous from the traveler's perspective, but involves complex buffer technology to ensure molecular integrity. Harper's eyes lit up. You're basically describing our transport systems, but using completely different physics. That's amazing. How do you prevent decoherence during the energy-matter conversion? We use Heisenberg compensators, but if you're working with different universal constants... Harper, Dillon interrupted gently. Maybe save the technical discussion for after we establish diplomatic relations. Right, sorry, boss. Getting excited about alien wormhole technology. Totally inappropriate given our precarious situation. Carter smiled slightly. Actually, I appreciate the enthusiasm. It's rare to meet someone who understands advanced physics at that level. But Captain Hunt is right. Let's get you down to Cheyenne Mountain. Then we can discuss technical specifications. She pulled a small device from her pocket. This is a GDO, garage door opener. It transmits our identification code so the iris, our defensive barrier, opens to let us through. Stay close to me during transit. The Stargate experience can be disorienting for first-timers. They approached the shimmering event horizon. Up close, it was even more impressive. A vertical pool of liquid-like energy that defied conventional understanding. Dillon had flown through black holes, survived supernovas, experienced 300 years of time dilation. But something about this ancient technology made him feel genuinely awestruck. Ready? Carter asked, or as we'll ever be, Dillon replied. They stepped through. The sensation was indescribable. For a fraction of a second, Dillon ceased to exist as physical matter. He was pure information, pure pattern, transmitted across light years through a tunnel of warped space-time. He felt cold beyond temperature, motion without movement, existence without form. Then they emerged into a large room, their molecules reconstituting with precision that would have made Commonwealth transporters jealous. Dillon's first impression was of military functionality, concrete walls, armed guards, high-tech equipment. The room was circular, dominated by the Stargate itself, which stood on a raised platform with a ramp leading down. At the base of the ramp stood General Landry, flanked by the tall warrior Dillon recognized as Teal'c and Dr. Daniel Jackson. Armed guards, at least a dozen, surrounded the gate room at tactical positions. "Welcome to Stargate Command," Landry said, his tone carefully neutral. Or more specifically, to the most classified military installation on this planet. Dillon came down the ramp, taking in every detail with trained observation. Harper followed, his eyes wide with wonder at the ancient technology, and Romy descended with perfect android grace, her presence immediately drawing every guard's full attention. "General Landry," Dillon said formally, "thank you for receiving us." "Let's be clear about something, Captain," Landry replied. "You're not here as guests. You're here because your ship appearing in Earth orbit represents either a significant opportunity or a significant threat, and we need to determine which." Everything you see in this facility is classified at the highest levels. We're trusting you with information that could endanger our world if misused." "Understood, General," Dillon responded. The High Guard operated under similar security protocols. "We understand operational classification." Teal'c stepped forward, his gold forehead emblem, a tattoo, Dillon realized, marking him as somehow distinct. The warrior's eyes moved over Dillon's uniform, assessing with professional interest. "Captain Dillon Hunt, your bearing suggests extensive military experience. The High Guard uniform you wear carries ceremonial elements similar to those worn by the Tok'ra, allies who fight against tyranny with honor. This speaks well of your character." "Teal'c," Dillon acknowledged with a respectful nod. "Your own bearing suggests warrior training. That emblem, it carries significance. It is the mark of Apophis, the false god I once served as First Prime," Teal'c said, his voice carrying no shame, only honesty. "For 137 years, I believed the Goa Old were gods. Then I learned the truth and joined the Tauri, the humans of Earth, in their fight for freedom. I wear this mark as reminder of what I was and what I have become." Dillon recognized the weight in those words. A warrior who betrays oppressors to fight for freedom carries honor, not shame. The Commonwealth had soldiers from 100 species who made similar choices. Before Teal'c could respond, Harper made a strangled sound. Everyone turned to find the young engineer staring at the Stargate itself, his handheld scanner practically smoking with data intake. Sorry, Harper babbled, noticing the dozen weapons now trained on him. "Just that thing is incredible. The chevrons use a mechanical locking system, but the wormhole generation is pure exotic matter manipulation. And the power source, you've got some kind of crystalline energy storage system that's putting out enough juice to tear a hole in space-time. How is this not the most famous piece of technology in your entire universe?" "Because it's classified," Landry said dryly. "Mr. Harper, you're going to need to put that scanner away before our security personnel decide it's a threat." "Right, absolutely, putting it away." Harper tucked the device into his pocket. "But just so you know, from an engineering perspective, you're sitting on literally the most advanced piece of technology I've ever seen. And I've seen Commonwealth tech that can blow up suns." Daniel Jackson stepped forward, adjusting his glasses with the nervous energy of an academic who'd found his element. "Mr. Harper, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Captain Hunt, I'm Dr. Daniel Jackson, archaeologist and linguist. I've studied the ancients extensively. If your ship's technology intersected with a Stargate during activation, that could explain the dimensional breach. The ancients built the Stargate network millions of years ago, but we've encountered evidence they also experimented with dimensional research." "Dimensional research?" Romy's interest sharpened. "Dr. Jackson, do you have access to ancient databases regarding these experiments? Such information could be invaluable in understanding our transit and potentially reversing it." "We have some ancient databases," Daniel replied carefully, "but much of their research on dimensional manipulation was classified even by their standards, considered too dangerous to pursue." "That's not encouraging," Dillon said. "In my experience, when precursor civilizations classify something as dangerous, they mean extinction-level dangerous." "Your experience is correct," Carter interjected. She'd been watching the exchange carefully. "Captain, we've encountered ancient technology that can rewrite timelines, download entire libraries into human brains, and create weapons capable of destroying solar systems. When they marked research as forbidden, we've learned to be very, very careful." Landry gestured toward a doorway. "This conversation is too important to conduct in the gate room. Captain Hunt, if you'll follow me to the briefing room, We can discuss your situation properly. Your crew will be treated with full courtesy, but understand you'll be under observation." "Expected and acceptable," Dylan confirmed. They moved through corridors that reminded Dylan painfully of Commonwealth military bases, functional, efficient, designed for warfare, but maintained with care. Armed personnel, wearing patches that read SF for security forces, watched them pass with professional wariness. The briefing room was surprisingly comfortable. A large table surrounded by chairs, multiple displays on the walls, and a coffee station that Harper immediately gravitated toward. As everyone settled, Dylan noticed Rami's eyes flickering slightly, her android systems processing vast amounts of data. "Captain," Landry began once everyone was seated, "let's start with basics. You said your crew is small. How many people are we talking about?" "6, Dylan replied. "Myself, Becca Valentine, my first officer, Tyr Anasazi, tactical officer, Harper, whom you've met, Rev Bem, our spiritual advisor and medic, and Trans-Gemini, systems analyst. Plus Rami, though as a distributed AI, she's both crew member and the ship itself." Landry blinked. 6 people operate a warship over a kilometer long. The Andromeda was designed for a crew of 4,000, Dylan explained, pain flickering across his features. "But that was when the Commonwealth still existed, when my ship was caught in the time dilation field. The rest of my crew was killed. When I finally escaped 300 years later, I found a galaxy in chaos. I've been operating with a skeleton crew for 5 years, recruiting people who believed in rebuilding civilization." 300 years, Daniel repeated softly. "Captain, you've lost everything twice. Once to time dilation, once to dimensional breach. I can't imagine what that's like." "You adapt," Dylan said quietly, "or you give up." "I chose to adapt." Teal'c inclined his head with deep respect. To continue fighting after such loss requires strength of will few possess. The Jaffa people understand this burden. We fought for freedom for generations while many believed resistance was futile. "How long did your rebellion take?" Dylan asked, recognizing a kindred spirit. "Nearly a century of preparation, 8 years of open warfare. Many died, many more suffered. But freedom was worth the cost." Teal'c's voice carried the weight of those battles. "Captain Hunt, you seek to restore your Commonwealth. I understand this mission. I succeeded in freeing my people. Perhaps you will succeed in restoring yours." "Except I can't restore it here," Dylan said heavily. "Teal'c, the Commonwealth existed across 3 galaxies in my universe. Here I have 6 crew members, 1 damaged warship, and no way home. The mission I've dedicated 5 years to. It's impossible now." The silence that followed was profound. Carter spoke first, her scientific mind already working through possibilities. "Captain, it might not be impossible. If the ancients researched dimensional barriers, if they left technology or information about how to manipulate them, there might be a way to send you home. Or there might be a way to make the situation worse," Landry countered. "Major, we've had enough dimensional incidents to know they're dangerous. The quantum mirror alone caused enough problems. Opening pathways between universes could be catastrophic." "General's right," Harper interjected nervously. "When we came through, when the slipstream drive intersected with your Stargate, it felt like reality was tearing. If dimensional barriers are damaged, who knows what else could come through? We might have accidentally opened a door that should stay closed." Romi's avatar flickered slightly. "Dylan, I'm receiving telemetry from the ship. Tyr reports that our sensors are detecting unusual spatial distortions near where we emerged, like an echo of our transit. The dimensional barrier isn't healing properly. Every person at the table went rigid. "Define not healing properly," Landry demanded. "The breach we created by crossing over, it should have sealed immediately once we transited," Romy explained. "But it's remaining partially open, like a crack in glass that's spreading slowly. If it widens enough, it could allow unintended crossings from our universe to yours." "Or something worse," Daniel said, his face pale. "We've dealt with entities that exist between dimensions. If there's a crack in dimensional barriers, it could attract attention from things that shouldn't exist in either universe." Dylan felt the familiar weight of command settling heavier. They'd been in this universe less than 2 hours, and already they'd potentially created a crisis. "General Landry," Dylan said formally, "the High Guard takes responsibility for the damage our transit caused. If there's ancient technology that can repair dimensional barriers, we'll help you find it. Whatever resources my ship has, whatever knowledge my crew possesses, it's at your disposal to fix this problem." "That's quite an offer," Landry said carefully. "But, Captain, I need to be honest about something. There are elements within Earth's government and the International Oversight Committee that technically governs Stargate operations, who will want to seize your technology by any means necessary. We'll do our best to protect you from that, but you should be aware of the political complications." "We've dealt with political complications," Dylan replied. "The Commonwealth specialized in navigating between different species' interests. We had extensive first contact protocols." Tyre's voice suddenly crackled through Romy's internal comms, patched through to the briefing room. "Captain, we have a situation. Multiple Stargate activations across Earth's network. Incoming wormhole at Stargate Command, and..." The Nietzschean's voice carried unusual concern. "The energy signature is unlike anything in the Commonwealth databases. This isn't natural." Alarms began blaring throughout Cheyenne Mountain. Landry was moving before the alarms finished their first cycle. "Chevron 7 locked," a voice echoed from the control room above the gate room they'd just left. "Receiving IDC. It's not recognized. Sir, we've got an unauthorized incoming wormhole." "Close the iris," Landry ordered, already running toward the control room with his team following. Dylan, Romy, and Harper ran too, years of military training overriding any thought of staying behind. They burst into the control room, a space overlooking the gate room below, to find controlled chaos. The Stargate had activated, its event horizon shimmering, but instead of something emerging, the iris, a protective barrier of reinforced metal, had closed, preventing anything from materializing. "Sir, the iris is heating up," a sergeant reported from his console. "Something's trying to force through. Energy readings are off the charts." "What kind of energy?" Carter demanded, already at a sensor station. "Unknown configuration. Not Goa'uld, not ancient, not Asgard. It's..." The sergeant paused, his face confused. "It's reading similar to the signature from Captain Hunt's ship. Like it's from the same universal framework." Dylan felt ice settle in his chest. "General, something from my universe is trying to follow us through." "Can you identify what?" Landry asked. "Negative," Romy replied, her eyes blazing with data feed as she linked to the Andromeda's sensors. "But Dylan, the dimensional crack is widening. Whatever's coming through is using our transit pathway to force its way into this universe." The iris began to glow red-hot. Smoke rose from the metal as something on the other side applied tremendous force. Then, impossibly, a figure materialized through the iris, not using the wormhole terminus, but phasing through solid metal as if it didn't exist. The being that appeared in the gate room was humanoid, but clearly not fully physical. It wore robes that seemed to shift between dimensions, its face hidden beneath a hood. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that suggested multiple entities speaking in unison. "Hallowed are the Ori, the figure intoned. We have felt the wound in creation. We have sensed the abomination that pierces the veil. Those who harbor the dimensional transgression share in its corruption. You will submit to Origin, or you will be cleansed. Oh, that's bad, Harper whispered. Boss, that's really, really bad. General Landry's jaw was set in grim lines. Prior of the Ori, we've got company. Dylan watched the ascended being below, his tactical mind already processing implications. General, who or what are the Ori? Ascended beings from another galaxy, Daniel said, his voice tight. They're essentially gods who gain power through worship. They send missionaries, priors, to convert worlds to their religion called Origin. Those who refuse are destroyed. And they just detected us? Dylan asked. Apparently, Carter replied, her scanner going crazy with readings. Captain, when you breached dimensional barriers, it must have registered to the Ori as some kind of cosmic violation. They're ascended. They exist on a higher plane. They probably felt your transit like we'd feel an earthquake. The prior below raised its staff, and energy began to coalesce. Every guard in the gate room tensed, weapons trained on the figure. This is about to get violent, Teal'c observed calmly. The Ori do not accept refusal. Dylan made a command decision. Romy, is there any way to disrupt that being's connection to its power source? Analyzing, Romy replied. Her eyes blazed with computational intensity. Dylan, the prior, is channeling energy from the ascended Ori through some kind of dimensional link. If I could generate a harmonic disruption field, but I'd need direct physical contact. Then get down there, Dylan ordered. General permission to intervene? Landry looked at the prior, preparing to unleash unknown power in his facility. Granted, but Captain, if you make this worse, we'll handle it, Dylan said. Rummy's android body moved with speed that shocked everyone. She vaulted over the control room railing, dropped 2 stories to the gate room floor, and landed with enough force to crack concrete. Before the prior could react, Romy's hand shot out and grabbed the staff. Energy crackled between them, ascended power meeting Commonwealth artificial intelligence. You dare touch the staff of the Ori? The prior's voice thundered. I dare many things, Romy replied calmly, including this. Her android body channeled a harmonic disruption field directly into the prior's energy link. For a moment, 2 forms of power collided, divine energy channeled from ascended beings versus pure computational force backed by 300 years of Commonwealth AI development. The prior screamed, an inhuman sound of rage and pain, and then dissolved into light, not destroyed but forcibly recalled to whatever dimensional plane the Ori inhabited. The gate room fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the heavy breathing of guards who just watched an android fight a god's representative to a standstill. Romy stood in the center of the room, her hands still raised where she'd gripped the staff. She looked up at the control room. The prior has been forcibly returned to the Ori dimensional plane, she reported professionally. However, this is not a victory. The Ori now know exactly where we are, and they will return with significantly more force. Dylan turned to Landry. General, I think we need to have a much longer conversation about exactly what my crew just got your planet involved with. Landry's expression was grim. Welcome to Earth, Captain Hunt, where the problems never get simpler and the enemies just keep getting worse. The emergency briefing room had filled rapidly in the 30 minutes following the prior's forced withdrawal. Dylan found himself at a table surrounded by Earth's military and scientific leadership, people who'd been fighting galactic threats while the Commonwealth was falling in another universe. General Landry sat at the head of the table, looking like he'd aged a decade in the last hour. Beside him, An older man with 4 stars on his uniform had joined via video link. General Jack O'Neill, Dillon learned, commander of Homeworld Security and veteran of 8 years leading SG-1. "So let me get this straight," O'Neill said, his voice carrying dry sarcasm that barely masked genuine concern. "Captain Hunt's ship tears through dimensional barriers, lands in our universe, and immediately attracts the attention of the Ori, who now think we're harboring some kind of cosmic abomination. Did I miss anything?" "The dimensional breach is still widening," Carter added, her tablet showing sensor data from the Andromeda. "Sir, we're not just dealing with the Ori threat. We've got a crack in reality itself that's growing larger by the hour. If it continues to expand, it could allow uncontrolled crossings from Captain Hunt's universe to ours." "Or worse," Daniel interjected quietly. He'd been reviewing ancient texts on a laptop, his archaeologist instincts in overdrive. "I've been cross-referencing ancient databases about dimensional research. There are fragmentary references to something they called the spaces between, regions that exist in the gaps between dimensional frameworks. The ancients classified any research that might expose our universe to these spaces as forbidden." "Why?" Dillon asked, leaning forward. Daniel's expression was troubled. "Because according to their records, the spaces between aren't empty. There are entities that exist in dimensional voids, beings that feed on the boundaries between realities. When those boundaries are damaged, it attracts their attention." Harper, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet, made a small sound of distress. "So not only did we bring the Ori down on Earth, we potentially rang a dinner bell for interdimensional monsters. This is officially the worst day of my professional career, and I once accidentally vented our entire weapons bay into space." "Mr. Harper," Teal'c said calmly, "panic serves no purpose. We have faced extinction-level threats before. The Ori themselves were considered undefeatable, yet Earth survives." "Barely," O'Neill muttered. "Teal'c is right, though. We've dealt with crisis situations before. The question is, what's our tactical situation right now?" He looked directly at Dillon through the video link. "Captain Hunt, your ship, the Andromeda. What can it do that our fleet can't?" Dillon appreciated the direct approach. "General O'Neill, full tactical assessment. The Andromeda Ascendant is a heavy cruiser designed to project Commonwealth power across 3 galaxies. Our primary weapons are 40-point defense laser turrets with autonomous targeting, anti-proton cannons capable of destroying capital ships, and a complement of missiles with various yield configurations. Defensively, our shields can withstand sustained bombardment from multiple capital ships simultaneously." "Translation," O'Neill said, "you could probably take on our entire orbital fleet and win." "Probably," Dillon admitted. "But that's not the relevant comparison. The question isn't whether we're more powerful than Earth's current assets. The question is whether we're powerful enough to stop the Ori." "And are you?" Landry asked bluntly. "No," Dillon said flatly. "The Ori are ascended beings with near-divine powers. The Andromeda is a warship. We can fight their physical vessels, their priors, their conventional forces, but against beings who exist on a higher plane of reality. That's beyond our capability." Romy, who'd been standing motionless in the corner like a beautiful statue, suddenly activated. "Dillon, I'm receiving a transmission from Tyr. The Andromeda's long-range sensors have detected multiple hyperspace windows opening at the edge of the solar system. 3 vessels, configuration unknown, but energy signatures match the prior's dimensional frequency." "Ori warships," Carter said, her face pale. "They're here." Every display in the briefing room switched to show tactical data. 3 massive vessels, each one dwarfing even the Andromeda, were entering the solar system. They moved with the kind of serene confidence that came from having overwhelming power and knowing it. Prometheus is scrambling, O'Neill reported from Homeworld Security. All orbital defense platforms are going to high alert. But people, we've engaged Ori warships before. They're tough. Really tough. We're talking weapons that can penetrate our shields in seconds and hull armor that laughs at our best weapons. Then we even the odds, Dillon said, standing. General Landry, I'm requesting permission to deploy the Andromeda in Earth's defense. My ship, my crew, against the enemy we accidentally brought to your doorstep. Denied, Landry said immediately. Dillon blinked. General, with respect, Captain, you've got the only ship that might be able to get you home if we can find ancient dimensional technology, Landry interrupted. I'm not risking that in a battle where we're already outgunned. Besides, the Andromeda is damaged. You said yourself your slipstream drive is offline. You've got hull breaches and you're operating at reduced power. We're still combat capable, Dillon insisted. General, the High Guard doesn't hide while others fight our battles. Teal'c stood, his imposing presence filling the room. Captain Dillon Hunt speaks with honor. However, General Landry's tactical assessment is sound. The Andromeda Ascendant represents hope for your crew's return home. To risk that hope defending a world not your own, while admirable, may not be strategically wise. Strategically wise? Dillon's voice carried an edge. Teal'c, you stood against false gods for over a century fighting for freedom. Would you have hidden behind strategic wisdom while the Tauri faced the Goa'uld alone? Teal'c's expression shifted to something approaching respect. I would not. You make a compelling argument, Captain Hunt. Actually, Harper interjected nervously, I might have a compromise. Boss, the Andromeda can't fight Ori warships alone. They're too powerful. But what if we don't fight them directly? What if we use the Andromeda as a force multiplier for Earth's fleet? Our point defense systems could provide cover for their ships. Our sensors could feed targeting data to their weapons platforms. We coordinate instead of confronting. Carter's eyes lit up. That could work. Captain, if you're willing to share tactical data in real time, we could integrate your ship's capabilities with our fleet coordination protocols. Combined operations might give us an edge. O'Neill's face on the screen showed grudging respect. I hate to admit it, but the kid's idea has merit. Captain Hunt, you willing to put your ship under Earth's tactical command for this engagement? Dillon felt the weight of the decision. Putting the Andromeda under foreign command violated every High Guard protocol, but these weren't ordinary circumstances. General O'Neill, I'll place the Andromeda under your tactical coordination with one condition. My crew maintains autonomous defensive operations. If your tactics put my ship at unacceptable risk, I reserve the right to withdraw. Fair enough, O'Neill agreed. Welcome to Earth's defense fleet, Captain. Try not to get blown up on your first day. Alarms began blaring throughout Cheyenne Mountain. Sir, the Ori vessels are accelerating, a technician reported. They're heading directly for Earth. ETA 40 minutes. All defense platforms, weapons free, Landry ordered. Scramble all F-302s. Get the Prometheus into defensive position near lunar orbit. And someone get Colonel Carter up to the Prometheus bridge. We need her expertise against Ori weapons. General, I'm more useful down here coordinating with Captain Hunt's engineer, Carter objected. Harper and I need to establish tactical data sharing protocols between the Andromeda and our fleet. Then you've got 30 minutes, Landry said. Make it count. The briefing room erupted into controlled chaos as personnel scattered to battle stations. Dillon found himself following Carter and Harper toward what they called the gate room level. where apparently there were computer terminals sophisticated enough to handle Commonwealth Earth data integration. Teal'c and Daniel followed, with Romy gliding silently behind, her android body moving with inhuman grace. "Captain Hunt," Daniel said as they hurried through corridors, "I need to ask you something. Your crew, you said there are 6 of you. Are any of the others unusual, non-human?" Revbem is Magog, an insectoid species modified from their base aggressive form into something capable of spiritual philosophy, Dylan replied. Transgemini appears to be some kind of alien, though even she's not entirely sure what she is. Why? Because, Daniel said carefully, we've learned that the Ori target anything they consider unnatural or abomination with extreme prejudice. If they're calling your dimensional breach an abomination, they might extend that to your non-human crew members. Dylan felt protective fury rise. Dr. Jackson, Rev Bem is a monk who spent years overcoming his species' violent nature to pursue peace. Trance saved my life more times than I can count. If the Ori think they're abominations, the Ori can go to hell. I like him, O'Neill's voice came through the facility's PA system. He's got the right attitude for dealing with religious zealot false gods. They reached a computer lab where Carter immediately began interfacing her tablet with the facility's systems. Harper pulled out his Commonwealth scanner and started configuring data protocols at a speed that made the Earth technicians present look like they were moving in slow motion. Okay, Harper muttered, his hands flying across holographic interfaces. Your computer systems are primitive by Commonwealth standards. No offense, but they're not incompatible. I can create a translation layer that converts our sensor data into formats your tactical computers can process. Give me 15 minutes. We've got 38, Carter replied, already writing code on her tablet. Let's make them count. Captain Hunt, I need access to your ship's tactical database, specifically target recognition algorithms and weapons range parameters. Romy? Dylan prompted. His ship's avatar stepped forward and placed her hand on the nearest computer terminal. Her eyes blazed with light as she directly interfaced with Earth systems, bypassing keyboards and touchscreens entirely. I'm uploading tactical specifications now, Romy reported. However, I should note that Commonwealth targeting protocols assume enemies with specific shield frequencies and armor compositions. Ori vessels may require adjusted targeting parameters. We've got combat data from previous Ori engagements, Carter said. I'm feeding that into your database now. Between our experience and your advanced sensors, we might actually have a chance at this. Daniel had moved to a separate terminal, still reviewing ancient texts. There's something else we need to consider. The Ori prior mentioned cleansing those who harbor dimensional abominations. That's their standard language for planetary destruction. If they can't defeat our fleet, they might just attempt to bombard Earth from orbit. Orbital bombardment against population centers, Dylan said grimly. The Commonwealth faced similar tactics during the Nietzschean uprising. It's a terror weapon, forced surrender through threat of genocide. Which is why we can't let them get close enough to fire on the surface, Teal'c said. He'd been studying tactical displays showing Earth's defensive positions. Captain Hunt, your ship's point defense systems, can they intercept Ori weapons fire? That's their primary function, Dylan confirmed. 40 autonomous laser turrets, each capable of tracking and destroying incoming projectiles. During the Commonwealth's peak, a single Glorious Heritage-class cruiser could provide defensive coverage for an entire fleet. Then that's your role, a new voice said from the doorway. They turned to find a tall man with gray-peppered hair entering the lab. He moved with easy confidence despite the crisis, and his uniform marked him as Air Force Colonel. Colonel Cameron Mitchell, The man introduced himself, extending a hand to Dylan. I lead SG-1 now. The O'Neill retired to a desk job and occasional crisis management. I've been listening to the tactical chatter. And I've got a proposal. I'm listening, Dylan said, shaking Mitchell's hand. Your ship becomes the anchor point for Earth's defense, Mitchell explained. The Prometheus and our orbital platform spread out in a defensive sphere around the Andromeda. You provide point defense coverage and sensor data. We provide distributed firepower. The Ori have to come through our entire formation to reach Earth, and every step costs them. A combined arms defense, Dylan said, recognizing the tactical doctrine. The Commonwealth used similar strategies when defending core worlds. It could work, but Colonel, it makes my ship the primary target. The Ori will recognize the Andromeda as the keystone and focus their attacks accordingly. Can your shields handle it? Mitchell asked bluntly. Dylan considered. The Andromeda's defensive systems were formidable, but they were already damaged from the dimensional transit. 3 Ori warships focusing fire on a single target could overwhelm even Commonwealth shielding. For a time, Dylan admitted, but not indefinitely. We'd need to rotate defensive positions, prevent them from concentrating fire. Then we keep them off balance, Mitchell said. Hit and run strikes, feints, anything to prevent them from establishing firing solutions. We've fought hopeless battles before and won through sheer stubbornness. I like your command style, Colonel, Dylan said with a slight smile. It reminds me of my first officer. Baker would approve. Harper looked up from his computer terminal, face pale. Boss? We've got a problem. I just established link with the Andromeda's sensors. And Romy, you need to see this. Romy's eyes flickered as she processed the data Harper was indicating. Her expression, as much as an android could express emotion, shifted to concern. Dylan, the dimensional breach has widened significantly. It's now large enough that I'm detecting energy signatures from our universe bleeding through, and there's something else. She pulled up a holographic display that made everyone in the room stop and stare. The display showed the dimensional breach, represented as a crack in the fabric of space-time. But around that crack, something was moving. Not ships, not physical objects, but something that existed in the spaces between dimensions. Entities that registered on sensors only as absences, as voids where reality should be. What are we looking at? Carter asked Mice, her scientific fascination warring with obvious fear. I don't know, Romy admitted, but whatever they are, they're attracted to the dimensional damage, like scavengers circling a wound. Dylan, if these entities cross into this universe, then we're dealing with 2 existential threats instead of 1, Daniel finished. The Ori and whatever those things are. Okay, Mitchell said, his casual demeanor finally cracking slightly. That's officially worse than anything I prepared for today. Captain Hunt, any chance your universe has information about these dimensional void creatures? None in the Commonwealth databases, Dylan replied. But then again, we never deliberately damaged dimensional barriers before. We might be looking at something no one in either universe has encountered. The PA system crackled. All personnel, this is General Landry. Ori vessels have entered lunar orbit. All defensive positions prepare to engage. This is not a drill. Through the facility's communication systems, they could hear the Prometheus bridge coming alive with activity, orders being given, weapons being armed, fighter squadrons launching. The defense of Earth was beginning. Harper, are we linked? Dylan demanded. 90% integrated, Harper replied, his fingers still flying. The Andromeda can now share sensor data with Earth's tactical network. They'll see what we see, get our targeting solutions, receive our threat assessments. It's not perfect, but it'll work. Then it's time, Dylan said. He activated his communicator, a small device that connected him directly to his ship. Tyre, this is Dylan. Prepare for combat operations. Coordinate with Earth's Fleet Command. We're defending this world. Understood, Captain. Tyre's voice came back, surprisingly free of his usual skepticism. Though I note we're about to fight ascended beings from another galaxy to defend a planet we've known for less than 3 hours. This crew's capacity for finding impossible situations remains impressive. It's a gift, Dylan said dryly. Dylan out. He turned to Landry, who'd entered the computer lab. General, the Andromeda is ready. We'll hold the line. I'm counting on it, Captain, Landry replied. Because if we lose this battle, the Ori won't just destroy Earth. They'll use this system as a staging ground to conquer our entire galaxy. And with a dimensional breach giving them access to your universe too. Then both our realities fall, Dylan finished. Understood, General. The High Guard has faced extinction scenarios before. We didn't surrender then. We won't start now. Through the facility's speakers, a new alarm began. The distinctive tone that meant combat was imminent. All ships, this is General O'Neill, came the voice from Homeworld Security. Ori vessels are moving into attack position. We've got 3 capital ships against 1 Prometheus, scattered defense platforms, and a warship from another universe crewed by 6 people and an AI. These are not good odds, people. Sir, there's one more thing. Colonel Mitchell's voice joined the channel. We've got readings showing the dimensional breach is attracting unknown entities. If this fight goes long, we might be dealing with more than just the Ori. Of course we are, O'Neill replied with that characteristic sarcasm. Because one species of religious zealot false gods wasn't enough. All ships, weapons free. Show these guys why Earth doesn't surrender. The tactical display showed the Ori warships moving forward, their hulls glowing with internal power that suggested barely contained energy. They advanced in a wedge formation, a classic attack pattern designed to concentrate firepower while minimizing their exposed profile. The Prometheus, Earth's pride, a BC-303 class warship, reverse-engineered from Asgard and Goa old technology, moved to intercept. Its Asgard beam weapons charging. Around it, orbital defense platforms activated, their railguns and missile batteries tracking the Ori vessels. And above them all, the Andromeda Ascendant hung in orbit. A kilometer of Commonwealth military engineering, damaged but still functional. Crewed by 6 people who'd lost everything and found themselves defending a world they'd never seen before. Dylan watched the tactical displays and felt the familiar weight of command settle over him. 300 years ago, he'd commanded fleets. Now he commanded one ship with a skeleton crew. But the principles remained the same. Protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Stand against tyranny. Never surrender. Romy, Dylan said quietly, tell Tyre to begin combat operations. Point defense to full autonomous mode. Sensors linked to Earth's network. And Romy, yes, Dylan? Don't let them break through to the planet, whatever it costs. I understand, Captain. The Andromeda Ascendant will hold the line. On the displays, the Ori warships opened fire. The battle for Earth had begun. And in the dimensional breach between universes, the void entities drew closer, attracted by the violence, the tearing of reality, the feast of broken barriers. 2 universes hung in the balance, and Dylan Hunt, captain without a commonwealth, warrior without a home, stood at the center of it all, trying desperately to keep reality itself from unraveling. The first Ori energy weapon lit up Earth's orbit like a newborn star. The lance of searing white energy crossed the distance between the lead Ori warship and the Prometheus in microseconds. The Earth vessel's shields flared brilliant blue, absorbing the impact, but the power differential was immediately obvious. The Prometheus's shield strength dropped 40% from a single hit. "Return fire!" Colonel Pendergast's voice crackled across the tactical network from the Prometheus bridge. "All weapons target the lead vessel." Asgard beam weapons, reverse-engineered technology that represented Earth's most advanced offensive capability, lanced out in response. The blue-white beams struck the Ori warship's shields with enough energy to vaporize a city block. The Ori shields didn't even flicker. "Negative effect," Pendergast reported. "Frustration evident. Their shields are absorbing our beam weapons like they're not even there, switching to railguns and missiles." From his position in Cheyenne Mountain's computer lab, Dylan watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Commonwealth had fought technologically superior enemies before: the Magog world ship, the Pyrians, even other Commonwealth vessels during the Civil War, but there was something uniquely terrifying about watching weapons that should be devastating bounce harmlessly off the enemy. "Tyr," Dylan said into his communicator, "analyze their shield frequencies. There has to be a pattern, a rotation, something we can exploit." "Already working on it, Captain," Tyr's voice came back. The Nietzschean was in the Andromeda's command center, coordinating with Earth's tactical network. "However, I'm detecting unusual properties. These aren't conventional energy shields. They're drawing power from a dimensional source, similar to how the Prior channeled energy from the ascended Ori." "Which means they're effectively unlimited," Romy added, her android body still in the lab while her consciousness operated the ship simultaneously. "Dylan, conventional weapons won't breach those shields. We need to disrupt their power link to the ascended plane." "How?" Carter asked, looking up from her computer terminal where she was frantically coordinating defensive positions. "I don't know yet," Romy admitted, "but I'm analyzing the dimensional frequency of their power draw. If I can generate a harmonic disruption field, like I used against the Prior." The second Ori warship fired. Its weapon struck an orbital defense platform that had been bombarding it with railgun fire. The platform's shields lasted exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The follow-up shot cored the platform from end to end. Secondary explosions rippled across the structure before it broke apart, debris spreading across orbit in an expanding cloud. "Platform 7 destroyed," a technician reported unnecessarily. "Platforms 3 and 5 are repositioning to cover the gap." "This is bad," Harper muttered, his hands still working to refine the data-sharing protocols between the Andromeda and Earth's systems. "Boss, they're not even trying hard. Those ships are just casually blowing through Earth's defenses like they're not even there." Mitchell had moved to stand beside Dylan, watching the same tactical displays. "Captain, your ship, the Andromeda. How would it fare against those weapons?" Dylan considered carefully. "Commonwealth shielding operates on different principles than Earth's technology. We might last longer, but Tyr's right. Those shields are drawing power from an ascended source. Unless we can cut that connection, this is a war of attrition we'll eventually lose." "Then we don't fight a war of attrition," Mitchell said. "We adapt. Captain, your point defense systems, can they intercept those energy weapons?" "No," Dylan admitted. "Point defense lasers are designed for missiles and small craft. Those Ori weapons are too powerful, too fast." "But," he paused, tactical instincts kicking in, "we might be able to use the Andromeda's shields as a barrier. Position my ship between the Ori and the Prometheus. Absorb their fire while your ship attacks from behind our defensive screen." "That makes the Andromeda the primary target," Teal'c observed. He'd been silent until now, watching the battle unfold with a warrior's eye. "Captain Hunt, your ship would bear the full weight of their assault." "The High Guard doesn't hide behind others," Dylan replied. "Colonel Mitchell, General O'Neill, Recommend the Andromeda move to forward position. We become the shield. Your ships become the sword. O'Neill's voice came through the tactical network. Captain Hunt, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not asking you to sacrifice your ship for Earth. You're not asking, General. I'm volunteering. The Andromeda was designed for this, to stand between civilians and threats they couldn't face alone. That was our mission in the Commonwealth. It's still our mission here. Silence for 3 heartbeats. Then, all right, Captain, but if your shields start failing, you pull back immediately. That's an order, even if you're technically not under my command. Acknowledged, Dylan said. He activated his communicator. Tyre, move us to forward defensive position. Place the Andromeda between the Ori vessels and the Prometheus. Full shields, all point defense turrets to autonomous operation. Finally, Tyre's voice carried satisfaction. A proper battle, executing maneuver now. On the tactical display, the Andromeda Ascendant began moving. That kilometer of Commonwealth engineering accelerating with grace that belied its mass. The ship positioned itself directly in the Ori warship's attack path, its shields glowing as they powered to maximum strength. The Ori recognized the challenge immediately. All 3 warships adjusted their targeting solutions, focusing their attention on the newcomer that dared to stand against them. Here it comes, Harper whispered. The Ori opened fire with all 3 ships simultaneously. White-hot energy weapons converged on the Andromeda from 3 different vectors. The Commonwealth ships' shields flared brilliant gold, white as they absorbed the impacts. For a moment, it seemed like the shields might hold. Commonwealth engineering proving superior to Earth's technology. Then the shields began to fail. Shield strength dropping rapidly, Romy reported, her voice carrying strain despite its artificial nature. 60%, 50%. Dylan, the power draw from those weapons is enormous. Our shields can't maintain coherence under this level of sustained bombardment. Route power from non-essential systems, Dylan ordered. Life support to minimum, artificial gravity to stand by. Everything goes to shields. Already done, Romy confirmed. But Dylan, I estimate shields will fail in approximately 90 seconds at current bombardment levels. On the tactical display, the Prometheus was using the brief respite to maximum effect. With the Ori focused on the Andromeda, Earth's warship had maneuvered to an attack position and was hammering the nearest Ori vessel with everything in its arsenal. Asgard beam weapons, railguns, missiles, everything Pendergast could throw at the enemy. The Ori shields absorbed it all without effect. We're not even scratching them, Carter said, frustration evident as she reviewed sensor data. Their shield strength isn't dropping at all. It's like they have infinite power reserves. Because they do, Daniel interjected. He'd been cross-referencing ancient texts throughout the battle. The Ori are ascended beings. They exist on a higher plane where energy limitations don't apply the same way. As long as they're channeling power from that plane, their ship's shields are essentially impenetrable. Then we need to sever that connection, Dylan said. Romy, the harmonic disruption field you used against the Prior, can you scale it up? Generate enough interference to disrupt their power link? Romy's avatar was silent for 3 seconds, an eternity for an AI capable of millions of calculations per second. Theoretically possible, but Dylan, it would require channeling the Andromeda's entire power output through a focused beam. We'd have to drop shields completely, leaving us vulnerable. And if you miss or the disruption field doesn't work, the Andromeda gets vaporized, Mitchell said flatly. Correct, Romy confirmed. I calculate a 37% chance of success. Those are terrible odds, Harper objected. Boss, we can't. Shield strength at 30%, Romy interrupted. 25%. Dylan, I need a decision. Do we maintain shields and hope Earth forces can find another solution, or do we attempt the disruption field? Dylan felt the weight of 300 years of command crushing down. 6 crew members, 1 damaged ship, the only hope of ever getting home. And he was about to risk it all on a 37% chance. Do it, Dylan said. Drop shields, generate the disruption field. Target the lead Ori vessel. Dylan, Tyre's voice carried warning over the comm. That's suicide. That's the mission, Dylan replied. Execute the order, Tyr. Through the tactical display, Dylan watched the Andromeda's shields collapse. The Commonwealth ship now hung in orbit, completely vulnerable, while it diverted every ounce of power to Romi's experimental weapon. The Ori warships recognized the opportunity immediately. All 3 vessels charged weapons, preparing to destroy the ship that had dared to stand against them. Firing, Romi announced. A beam of pure harmonic disruption, energy tuned to interfere with dimensional power channels, lanced from the Andromeda's main weapon array. It struck the lead Ori warship's shields, not with destructive force, but with frequency interference designed to disrupt their power connection to the ascended plane. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the Ori warship's shields flickered, wavered, and collapsed completely. Direct hit, Carter shouted. Their shields are down. All ships concentrate fire on the lead vessel. Earth's orbital platforms, the Prometheus, every weapon system in range, opened fire simultaneously. Without their shields, the Ori warship proved vulnerable to conventional weapons. Railgun slugs punched through hull plating. Asgard beam weapons carved through internal systems. Missiles detonated against the unprotected hull with devastating effect. The Ori warship began to list, atmosphere venting from multiple breaches, power fluctuations visible across its surface. They're withdrawing, Mitchell reported. All 3 Ori vessels are pulling back. The damaged one is jumping to hyperspace. The other 2 are covering its retreat. On the tactical display, the Ori warships opened hyperspace windows and vanished, fleeing the battle they'd been winning moments before. Silence filled the computer lab. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. Within seconds, the entire room erupted in cheers. "We did it!" Harper breathed, disbelief evident. "Holy crap, we actually did it! Boss, your crazy plan worked." "Romi, status?" Dylan asked, ignoring the celebration. "The Andromeda is intact," Romi reported. "No hull damage, shields are regenerating. However, Dylan, I need to inform you of a complication. When I generated the harmonic disruption field, I detected something, the dimensional breach. It widened significantly. And those entities I detected earlier, the ones in the spaces between universes, they're closer now, much closer." The celebration died instantly. "How much closer?" Landry demanded, entering the lab with O'Neill visible on a screen behind him. "They're at the edge of the breach," Romi said. "Not through yet, but pressing against the dimensional barrier. And General, based on the energy signatures, they're attracted to exactly the kind of power disruption I just generated. I may have inadvertently invited them in." "Oh, that's just perfect," O'Neill said with heavy sarcasm. "We finally figure out how to fight the Ori, and in the process, we ring the dinner bell for interdimensional monsters. Anyone else having a bad day, or is it just me?" Daniel was already pulling up data on his laptop. "General, there's precedent for this in ancient texts. They encountered dimensional entities before, beings that exist in the voids between realities. The ancients called them the unmade, because they exist in a state before matter and energy were properly separated into distinct forms." "How did the ancients fight them?" Mitchell asked. "They didn't. Daniel replied grimly. They sealed dimensional barriers and fled to different realities. The unmade can't be killed because they don't exist in a conventional sense. They're not alive. They're the absence of life. The void given purpose. Can we seal the barrier? Carter asked, looking at Romy. If we close the dimensional breach before these entities come through, we'd be sealing Captain Hunt and his crew in our universe permanently, Romy finished. The same technology that would close the breach would make it impossible for us to return home. Dylan felt the implications settle like lead. How long until these unmade entities break through? Estimating approximately 6 hours, Romy said. The dimensional barrier is degrading rapidly. Once they breach, they'll begin consuming reality itself, converting matter and energy back into undifferentiated void. So we've got 6 hours to find a way to seal the breach, fight off the Ori if they return, and somehow not trap Captain Hunt's crew here forever, Landry summarized. Am I missing anything? The Ori will return, Teal'c said with certainty. They do not accept defeat. They will study what we did, adapt their tactics, and return with greater force. We may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. Then we use the 6 hours, Dylan said. Dr. Jackson, you mentioned ancient research on dimensional barriers. Where is it? Can we access it? There's an ancient outpost, Daniel replied, in Antarctica. We've used it before for various research, but the systems there are mostly inactive, and accessing deep archives requires someone with the ancient gene, a genetic marker that allows interface with their technology. I have the gene, O'Neill said through the screen. Tested positive years ago. It's how I accessed their weapons platform, but I'm at Homeworld Security coordinating fleet defense. I can't just leave. I'll go, Dylan said. If someone can provide me with the coordinates. Captain Hunt, Carter interrupted. The ancient gene is genetic. You wouldn't be able to activate their systems even if you were there. We need someone who has the gene and understands ancient technology. Then I'll go, a new voice said. Everyone turned to find a woman entering the lab. Early 30s, dark hair, professional bearing, wearing medical scrubs with a doctor's coat. She looked tired, like she'd been working a double shift, but her eyes were sharp with intelligence, and she looked exactly like Romy. Dr. Carolyn Lamb, Landry said, his voice carrying complicated emotions. You shouldn't be here. This is classified. Dad, I've got level 5 clearance, Carolyn interrupted. I'm the chief medical officer on this base. I know about the Stargate, the Ori, all of it. And I have the ancient gene, tested positive last month during routine genetic screening. She turned to look at Romy, and the resemblance was uncanny. Same facial structure, same height, even similar bearing despite one being android and one being human. So, Carolyn said calmly, someone want to explain why there's an android who looks exactly like me, standing in my father's computer lab during an alien invasion. Romy tilted her head, processing. Dr. Lamb, I'm the android avatar of the Andromeda Ascendant, a warship from an alternate universe. The physical form I wear was designed by Commonwealth engineers to be aesthetically pleasing to humans while maintaining functional utility. The fact that I appear identical to you suggests either remarkable coincidence or some form of multiversal quantum resonance. Multiversal quantum resonance, Carolyn repeated flatly. That's not actually a thing. It is now, apparently, O'Neill said through the screen. Dr. Lamb, we don't have time for a full explanation. Can you help us access ancient technology to seal the dimensional breach? Carolyn looked at her father, then at Dylan, then back at Romy. I'm a medical doctor, not a xenoarchaeologist, but if you need someone with the ancient gene to activate their systems, I can do that. What's the mission? Travel to Antarctica, Daniel said. Access the ancient outpost. Search their database for information on sealing dimensional barriers. Oh, and do it in about 5.5 hours before entities from outside reality break through and consume our universe. And people wonder why I drink, O'Neill muttered. Carolyn was silent for 3 seconds. Then, I'll need someone who understands ancient technology to guide me through the database interface. Dr. Jackson? Already packing, Daniel confirmed. And I'm going too, Dylan said. If we're searching for a way to seal the breach, my crew deserves representation in that decision. We're the ones who'll be trapped here if you succeed. Fair point, Landry conceded. Dr. Lamb, you'll take a puddle jumper to Antarctica. Dr. Jackson, Captain Hunt, and... He paused. I'm sending Teal'c as security. If the Ori figure out what we're doing, they might try to stop you. What about Rami? Dylan asked. The android avatar shook her head. I need to remain with the Andromeda. If the Ori return or the unmade breach earlier than expected, the ship will need my full consciousness, not a distributed fragment. Understood, Dylan said. He activated his communicator. Becca, this is Dylan. I'm going on an away mission to an ancient facility in Earth's Antarctica. You're acting captain while I'm gone. If the Ori return, we'll hold the line, Becca's voice came back. She sounded tired, but determined. Dylan, be careful. We just got to this universe. I'd hate to lose you in the first day. Same to you, Dylan replied. Keep the crew safe. Dylan out. 15 minutes later, Dylan found himself in what they called the gate room again, this time preparing to travel not to another planet, but to another region of Earth. The Stargate activated, chevrons locking in sequence, the event horizon forming. That never gets old, Harper said. He'd insisted on coming despite having no ancient gene, claiming his engineering expertise might be needed. Boss, try not to activate any doomsday devices or accidentally ascend or anything. I'll do my best, Dylan said dryly. Dr. Carolyn Lamb stood beside Daniel Jackson, checking equipment while Teal'c loaded weapons with practiced efficiency. She kept glancing at Dylan with curiosity, barely masked by professional composure. Captain Hunt, she said finally, your ship, the Andromeda, it's sentient? Fully sentient, Dylan confirmed. Romy's been my companion for 5 years. She's not just a ship, she's a person. Artificial, yes, but no less real for that. And she looks exactly like me because of multiversal quantum resonance. Or remarkable coincidence, Dylan offered. Dr. Lamb, I know this must be disturbing. Actually, it's fascinating, Carolyn interrupted. From a scientific perspective, if dimensional frameworks can produce identical genetic patterns across separate universes, that suggests some kind of underlying structure to reality, like quantum mechanics implies observer effect across... She caught herself. Sorry. Medical doctor with too much physics education. Let's go save the universe before I start lecturing on multi-dimensional biology. They stepped through the Stargate. The Antarctic outpost was exactly as cold and ancient as Dylan expected. The chamber they materialized in was carved from ice and alien alloy, with technology that had been dormant for millennia. At its center stood a control chair, ancient design, still functional despite ages of disuse. There, Daniel said, pointing to the chair, that's our interface to the ancient database. Dr. Lamb, if you sit in the chair and think about accessing dimensional research, the neural interface should respond to your gene. Carolyn approached the chair cautiously, then sat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chair powered up, holographic displays materializing around her, ancient text scrolling across surfaces in languages Dylan couldn't read. It's working, Carolyn breathed. I can feel it, the database responding to my thoughts. It's like the information is being downloaded directly into my mind. Focus on dimensional barriers, Daniel coached. Anything about sealing breaches, preventing crossings, defending against entities from the spaces between. Carolyn's eyes widened. There's so much. The ancients conducted extensive dimensional research. They mapped thousands of parallel universes, documented entities that exist in dimensional voids, and her face went pale. Oh no, that's bad. What? Dylan demanded. The ancients tried to seal a dimensional breach once, Carolyn said, her voice shaking slightly. It worked, but the process required such immense power that it destabilized their entire power grid. They nearly destroyed themselves, closing one crack in reality. How much power? Teal'c asked. Multiple ZPMs, Carolyn replied. 0-point modules, ancient power sources that draw energy from subspace. They had to sacrifice 6 ZPMs to seal one breach, and the breach they sealed was smaller than the one Captain Hunt's ship created. Dylan felt hope dying. How many ZPMs does Earth have access to? Currently, Daniel said quietly, none. We've encountered them before, but they're either depleted, destroyed, or in use powering critical systems we can't afford to shut down. Then we can't seal the breach, Dylan said flatly. Unless, Carolyn said slowly, we use an alternative power source. The database mentions something, experimental research the ancients abandoned as too dangerous. They theorized that if a breach was created by specific technology intersecting with their wormhole network, that same technology might be able to seal it. The Andromeda's slipstream drive, Dylan said, understanding. It created the breach. It could close it. Yes, Carolyn confirmed. But Captain, the power requirements. Your ship would have to channel its entire energy output through the dimensional breach. And according to this data, the feedback could destroy your drive completely. Even if it works, even if we seal the breach, you'd never be able to modify the slipstream drive to work in this universe. You'd be permanently stranded. The silence that followed was profound. Dylan looked at Daniel, at Teal'c, at Carolyn sitting in an ancient chair, accessing knowledge from a civilization millions of years dead. He thought about his 6 crew members, Becca, Tyre, Harper, Rev Bem, Trance, and Rami. 6 people who'd followed him through 5 years of impossible missions, who'd crossed dimensional barriers, who deserved a chance to go home. How long until the unmade breach? Dylan asked. 4 hours, Carolyn replied, reading data from the ancient interface. Captain, I'm sorry, but if we don't seal the breach, those entities will consume both universes, trillions of lives across 2 realities. I know, Dylan said quietly. His communicator crackled. Dylan, this is Rami. I've been monitoring your conversation through the Stargate relay. Dylan, if we use the slipstream drive to seal the breach, I calculate a 63% chance of success. But the crew deserves a vote, Dylan interrupted. Patch me through to all of them. A moment later, Becca's voice joined the channel. We're listening, Dylan. We have a choice, Dylan said. We can use the Andromeda's slipstream drive to seal the dimensional breach and save both universes, but it will destroy any chance of us ever getting home. Or we can refuse, hope Earth finds another solution, and preserve the possibility of return while risking multiversal catastrophe. That's not really a choice, Tyre's voice said. The Nietzschean's tone was surprisingly free of bitterness. Captain, the Drago Kazov pride taught me that survival requires accepting reality rather than clinging to impossible hopes. Going home was always a long shot. Saving 2 universes from void entities, that's achievable and somewhat heroic, which appeals to my vanity. Rev? Dylan prompted. The divine guides us where we're needed most, Rev Bem's deep voice rumbled. We were brought here for a purpose, Dylan. Perhaps this is it. Harper? Boss, Harper's voice cracked slightly. I wanted to go home. I wanted to see the Commonwealth restored. But I've also spent 5 years learning what the High Guard really means. We stand the line. We protect those who can't protect themselves. If that means giving up our chance at home to save both universes, then that's what we do. Trance? Sometimes the universe has plans bigger than our own, Trance said cryptically. I think we were always meant to be here, Dylan. This feels right. Becca, his first officer, was silent for a long moment. Dylan, we've followed you for 5 years on the promise that we could rebuild what was lost. But maybe what we're building now, alliances with Earth, fighting the Ori, saving realities, maybe that matters more than restoring a Commonwealth that's been dead for 3 centuries. I am in. Romy? Dylan, I am the Andromeda Ascendant, his ship said. My purpose is to serve the crew and uphold the High Guard's ideals. If sacrificing my slipstream drive accomplishes both, then the choice is clear. Besides, and there was something almost like humor in her artificial voice, I've grown somewhat fond of this universe. Dr. Lamb seems pleasant. Dylan closed his eyes briefly. His crew, 6 people who'd lost everything and chosen to keep fighting anyway, had just voted to sacrifice their only hope of going home. Then it's decided, Dylan said. Dr. Lamb, tell us what we need to do. Carolyn was already pulling data from the ancient database. According to this, we need to position the Andromeda at the exact center of the dimensional breach. Then your slipstream drive activates at maximum power, but instead of creating a transit corridor, it channels all that energy into sealing the rift. The ancient database has the exact frequency modulations needed. How long will the process take? Teal'c asked. Approximately 7 minutes, Carolyn said. During which time the Andromeda will be completely vulnerable. All power diverted to the drive. No shields, no weapons, no defenses. 7 minutes for the Ori to show up and destroy us, Dylan said. We'll need coverage. You'll have it, O'Neill's voice came through the communicator. Captain Hunt, I'm recalling every ship, every defense platform, every weapon we have. When you make your run, Earth's entire fleet will be between you and anything that tries to stop you. General, that's repaying the favor, O'Neill interrupted. Your crew is sacrificing everything to save our universe and yours. The least we can do is make sure you survive long enough to do it. Besides, the Ori probably aren't the forgiving type. They'll want revenge for that shield trick. We'll be fighting them anyway. Mitchell's voice joined. Captain, SG-1 is returning to Cheyenne Mountain. If this is going to be our last stand, we'll be here for it. As will I, Teal'c said. Captain Dylan Hunt, you have proven yourself worthy of the High Guard's traditions. I am honored to fight alongside you. Dylan felt something shift inside him. For 3 centuries, he'd been fighting to restore the Commonwealth, to rebuild what had been lost. But maybe the Commonwealth had never been about specific governments or territories. Maybe it had always been about ideals, about people from different worlds choosing to stand together against chaos and tyranny. And here, in an alien universe, surrounded by humans who'd fought their own wars against false gods, those ideals were finding new expression. Thank you, Dylan said simply, all of you. Let's go save some universes. They had 4 hours until the Unmade broke through, and Dylan Hunt, captain without a Commonwealth, warrior without a home, was going to make damn sure those 4 hours counted. The journey back through the Stargate was silent, each person processing what was about to happen. When they emerged in Cheyenne Mountain's gate room, they found it transformed into a war room. Additional computer stations had been set up, military personnel coordinating with orbital assets, and on every display screen, the tactical situation painted an increasingly desperate picture. The dimensional breach had widened visibly. What had been a crack in reality was now a gaping wound, and through it, sensors were detecting movement, not ships, not physical objects, something that existed in the spaces between existence, pressing closer with each passing minute. General Landry met them at the base of the ramp. "Dr. Lamb, Dr. Jackson, good work. Captain Hunt, your crew has been briefed on the plan. They're preparing the Andromeda for the sealing operation." He paused. "Captain, I need you to understand something. The IOA, the International Oversight Advisory that technically governs Stargate operations, they're not happy about this plan. Some members are arguing we should let you attempt to seal the breach without destroying your slipstream drive. They want to preserve the possibility of accessing your universe for trade, technology, resources." Dylan's expression hardened. "General, with respect, those people can—" "I told them to go to hell," Landry interrupted. "In slightly more diplomatic terms, Captain, you and your crew are sacrificing your only way home to save both our universes. Anyone who tries to interfere with that will answer to me personally, and to O'Neill, and Carter, and Teal'c, and pretty much everyone who's actually fought the real battles while politicians played power games." "Thank you, General," Dylan said, respect evident in his voice. Carter appeared from a side corridor, tablet in hand and urgency in every movement. "Captain Hunt, we've uploaded the ancient database frequency modulations to the Andromeda's computer core. Harper and Rami are already integrating them with the slipstream drive systems. But there's a complication." "Of course there is," Dylan muttered. "The power requirements are even higher than the ancient projections suggested," Carter continued. "Your slipstream drive will need to operate at 137% of rated capacity to generate enough energy to seal a breach this size. Captain, that's well beyond safe operational parameters. The drive could explode before the sealing is complete." "What are the odds?" Dylan asked. "Harper estimates 38% chance of catastrophic drive failure during the operation," Carter replied. "If that happens, the feedback could destroy the Andromeda entirely, and the breach would remain open. So we have a 62% chance of success and a 38% chance everyone on my ship dies while failing to save either universe," Dylan said flatly. "Those odds aren't great, but they're not terrible either. We've survived worse." "Captain Hunt," Carolyn Lamb said quietly, "there might be another option. The ancient database mentioned something about biological neural interfaces. If someone with the ancient gene was physically connected to the slipstream drive during the operation, they could help stabilize the energy output, reduce the chance of failure." "How would that work?" Daniel asked, clearly concerned about where this was going. "The ancient gene allows direct interface with ancient technology," Carolyn explained. "The slipstream drive isn't ancient, but it operates on similar principles, manipulating quantum probability and dimensional frameworks. Someone with the gene, directly linked to the drive's control systems, could make real-time adjustments that automated systems can't match. It would increase success probability to approximately 84%. "What's the catch?" Dylan asked, recognizing there had to be one. Carolyn hesitated. "The neural feedback from channeling that much energy through a biological brain would be severe, possibly fatal, at minimum. It would cause permanent neurological damage." The silence that followed was profound. "Absolutely not," Landry said immediately. "Dr. Lamb, you're talking about suicide. I'm talking about math," Carolyn interrupted. 38% chance of failure versus 16%. "Dad, That's the difference between watching two universes die and probably saving them both. Find another volunteer, Landry ordered. Someone else with the gene. There isn't time to screen the entire base, Carolyn replied. And most people with the gene don't know they have it. Dad, I tested positive last month. I'm here. I understand the risks. This is my choice. Like hell it is, Landry snapped. You're my daughter. Which is exactly why you need to let me make this decision, Carolyn said firmly. How many times have you risked your life for Earth? How many missions have you sent SG teams on, knowing they might not come back? This is the same thing. I have a skill that's needed. I use it. Teal'c stepped forward, his expression grave but respectful. General Landry, your daughter speaks with the courage of a warrior. To stand between your family and danger is the burden of command, but to deny her the honor of this sacrifice would diminish both her courage and your respect for her choice. Landry looked at Teal'c, then at his daughter, his face aging a decade in seconds. Carolyn, you're talking about permanent brain damage. You might not survive, and even if you do, then I'll deal with it, Carolyn said gently. Dad, you raised me to believe some things are worth any cost. Saving trillions of lives across two universes qualifies. Dylan watched the exchange and recognized the moment, the terrible instant when a father realized his child had become someone willing to make the same impossible choices he'd been making for years. It was painful and proud in equal measure. Dr. Lamb, Dylan said carefully, I appreciate the offer, but I can't ask you to sacrifice yourself for my crew's mistake. We created this breach. We should be the ones to pay the price for fixing it. Captain Hunt, with respect, this isn't about whose fault it is, Carolyn replied. It's about who has the skills to solve the problem. None of your crew has the ancient gene. I do. The math is simple. The math is never simple when it involves people dying, Dylan countered. He'd learned that lesson over 3 centuries of command. Harper's voice crackled through the facility's speakers. Boss? I hate to interrupt the whole dramatic sacrifice argument, but we've got a situation up here. The Ori just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Multiple ships. I'm counting 6 capital vessels plus support craft. They're forming up for an attack run, and they look pissed. Every display in the command center switched to show the tactical situation. 6 Ori warships, twice as many as before, were arranging themselves in attack formation, and they weren't alone. Smaller vessels, fighters or troop carriers, swarmed around the capital ships, and numbers that made Earth's defense fleet look woefully inadequate. They learned from the first engagement, Mitchell observed, having returned from his brief mission. They're not going to focus fire on one target this time. They're going to spread out, divide our forces, and hit us from multiple vectors simultaneously. How long until they're in weapons range? Landry demanded. 47 minutes, Carter replied, reading sensor data. And General, the dimensional breach. The entities inside it are responding to the Ori's presence, like they're attracted to the energy signatures if the Ori and the Unmade both attack simultaneously. Then we're fighting a 2-front war with insufficient resources, Landry finished grimly. He activated the facility-wide comm. All defense platforms to high alert. Recall all F-302 squadrons to carrier bases. Get the Prometheus to forward defensive position and... He paused, making a decision that clearly pained him. Prepare to evacuate non-essential personnel from Cheyenne Mountain. If this goes bad, I want civilians clear. General, O'Neill's voice came through from Homeworld Security. I'm scrambling every ship we have. The Daedalus just returned from Atlantis. She's damaged but combat capable. The Odyssey is in dry dock, but we can get her powered up. The That gives us 3 BC-304s against 6 Ori capital ships. Still terrible odds, Mitchell said. Agreed, O'Neill replied. Which is why we're going to fight dirty. Captain Hunt, how fast can the Andromeda be ready for the sealing operation? Dylan activated his communicator. Tyre, status report. We've integrated the ancient frequency modulations. Tyre's voice came back. The slipstream drive is configured for the sealing operation. We can begin whenever you give the order. Though I should note, Captain, that Harper is muttering about probability curves and looks like he's going to be sick. Whatever you're planning, he doesn't like the odds. Nobody likes the odds, Dylan said, but they're the only odds we have. Tyre, bring the Andromeda to the dimensional breach coordinates. We start the operation the moment we're in position. Understood. Though, Captain, if we're about to sacrifice the ship's only means of going home, I feel obligated to make one final objection for the record. Objection noted, Dylan replied. Execute the order. As you command. Carolyn stepped closer to Dylan, her decision clearly made. Captain Hunt, I'm coming with you. The neural interface connection has to be made aboard the Andromeda before you begin the operation. We don't have time to argue about this. Dr. Lamb, it's not a debate, Carolyn said firmly. You need someone with the ancient gene to stabilize the drive. I'm volunteering, unless you want to explain to 2 universes worth of sentient beings why you let them all die because you didn't want to accept help from someone willing to give it. Dylan recognized the tactical corner he'd been backed into. She was right. The success probability difference was too significant to ignore, and with the Ori bearing down, they didn't have time for alternatives. General Landry, Dylan said formally, I request permission to transport Dr. Carolyn Lamb to the Andromeda Ascendant for technical consultation on the dimensional sealing operation. Landry's jaw tightened. He looked at his daughter, seeing both the child she'd been and the warrior she'd become. Permission granted, Dr. Lamb. You have clearance to accompany Captain Hunt. And Carolyn, his voice softened slightly, you make damn sure you come back. That's an order from your commanding officer and your father. I'll do my best, Dad, Carolyn said. She moved to embrace him quickly, then stepped back to professional distance. Captain Hunt, I'm ready when you are. Then let's move, Dylan said. The Ori won't wait for us to prepare. Minutes later, Dylan and Carolyn stood in the Andromeda's slipstream core, the heart of the ship's faster-than-light propulsion system. The chamber was massive, dominated by the drive's exotic matter containment field and quantum probability processors, technology that had carried the ship across Commonwealth space for 300 years was about to be sacrificed to seal a wound in reality. Harper was there, making final adjustments with hands that trembled slightly. Boss, I've triple-checked everything. The frequency modulations are loaded. The drive is configured for maximum output. We're as ready as we're ever going to be. He looked at Carolyn. Dr. Lamb, the neural interface chair is over there. Once you're connected, you'll feel the drive's energy output directly in your mind. It's going to be intense, really intense. If at any point it becomes too much, I'll handle it, Carolyn said. She moved to the chair, a Commonwealth design with neural interface contacts that looked unsettlingly medical, and sat down. How does this work? The contacts attach to your temples and the base of your skull, Harper explained, his engineering focus overriding his nervousness. They'll create a direct link between your nervous system and the drive's control systems. Your ancient gene will let you interpret the quantum probability matrices as something your brain can process. Then you make adjustments in real time, keeping the energy output stable while we channel power into the dimensional breach. And the neural feedback? Harper's expression was pained. It's going to feel like your brain is on fire. The human nervous system wasn't designed to process the amount of information a slipstream drive generates. With the ancient gene, you can survive it. Probably. But Dr. Lamb, I'm not going to lie. This is going to hurt. A lot. Noted, Carolyn said. She looked at Dylan. Captain, whenever you're ready. Dylan activated his communicator. Bridge, this is Dylan. Status. Bika's voice came back. We're in position at the dimensional breach coordinates. Tyre reports the Ori fleet is accelerating. They've figured out what we're doing. ETA to weapons range is 12 minutes. Can we complete the operation before they arrive? 7-minute sealing sequence, Beka replied. That gives us a 5-minute buffer, assuming they don't have some way to move faster than we expect. And the unmade? Still pressing against the dimensional barrier, Romi's voice joined. Dylan, I'm detecting increased activity from the entities. They're aware something is about to change. I can't predict how they'll react when we begin channeling energy into the breach. One crisis at a time, Dylan said. Romi, prepare to initiate the sealing sequence. Dr. Lamb, activate the neural interface. Carolyn reached for the controls on the chair. The neural contacts extended, pressing against her temples and the base of her skull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her entire body went rigid. Contact established, Harper reported, monitoring readouts. Her brainwave patterns are synchronizing with the drive's quantum processors. Neural feedback is within acceptable parameters. Dr. Lamb, can you hear me? I hear you, Carolyn said, her voice strained. It's like I can see probability itself. Every possible quantum state the drive could collapse into. It's overwhelming but manageable. I'm ready. Dylan activated ship-wide comm. All hands, this is Captain Hunt. We're about to begin the dimensional sealing operation. What we're doing, sacrificing our ability to go home to save both universes. That's what the High Guard was always about. Standing the line. Protecting those who can't protect themselves. Proving that civilization is worth any cost. He paused. 5 years ago, I woke from time dilation to find the Commonwealth dead and everything I'd fought for in ruins. I thought my mission was to restore what had been lost. But maybe the mission was always about carrying forward the ideals, not the specific government. Maybe the Commonwealth lives on not in territorial boundaries, but in every choice we make to stand against chaos and tyranny. Inspirational speech, boss. Bika's voice carried affectionate sarcasm. Now let's not die during the most important mission we've ever run. Agreed, Dylan said with a slight smile. Romi, begin the sequence. Initiating dimensional sealing operation, Romi announced. Slipstream drive powering to maximum output. Channeling energy through quantum probability matrices. Time to completion, 7 minutes. The slipstream core began to glow. Energy crackled through the exotic matter containment field as the drive built up power levels far beyond its normal operating parameters. Through the viewports, the dimensional breach became visible, a tear in space that pulsed with sickly light as reality itself bled through damaged barriers, and the Andromeda began feeding energy directly into that wound. Drive output at 60% capacity, Harper reported. 70%, 80%. Neural feedback is increasing exponentially. Dr. Lamb, how are you holding up? Carolyn's hands gripped the chair's armrests, hard enough to turn her knuckles white. It's manageable. I can feel the energy flowing through the drive, see where it's trying to destabilize. Making adjustments. She gasped slightly. God, this is intense. 6 minutes remaining, Romi said. But Dylan, I'm detecting a problem. The Ori fleet has accelerated beyond predicted parameters. They're going to reach weapons range in 4 minutes. We'll be defenseless. Dylan said, recognizing the tactical problem immediately. All power is going to the drive. We have no shields, no weapons, no engines. Then we provide cover, O'Neill's voice crackled through from homeworld security. All Earth ships, this is General O'Neill. The Andromeda is conducting the most important operation in human history. Every ship, every platform, every weapon we have forms a defensive screen around that vessel. Nothing gets through. I don't care if we have to ram the Ori ships. The Andromeda completes its mission. On tactical displays, Earth's defense fleet began moving. The Prometheus, the Daedalus, the Odyssey, all 3 BC-304 class warships took up positions around the Andromeda. Orbital defense platforms reoriented their weapons. F-302 fighter squadrons launched from carrier bases, their small but numerous craft swarming to create a defensive perimeter. Drive output at 100%, Harper announced. 110, 120. We're approaching the threshold where structural failure becomes probable. Dr. Lamb, I need you to start making stability adjustments. Working on it, Carolyn gasped. Blood began trickling from her nose, a visible sign of the neural strain. I can see where the energy wants to spike, smoothing out the probability curves. It's like conducting an orchestra where every instrument is a nuclear reactor. 3 minutes to Ori weapons range, Romy reported. And Dylan, the unmade entities, they're reacting to the energy we're channeling. They're pushing harder against the dimensional barrier. If they break through during the operation, we deal with it, Dylan said firmly. How's the breach sealing progressing? Dimensional barrier is beginning to reconstitute, Romy confirmed. The energy we're channeling is forcing the damaged quantum framework to repair itself, but it's slow. We need another 5 minutes minimum. We've got 3 before the Ori arrive, Dylan said. Then we hold for 2 minutes under fire, Tyre's voice came through from the bridge. Wonderful. I've always wanted to die heroically while completely defenseless. It's very mythological. The Ori fleet entered weapons range. 6 massive capital ships, each one capable of destroying planets, opened fire simultaneously. Not at the Andromeda, they recognized it was already committed to its task, but at Earth's defensive screen. The ships protecting Dylan's vessel. The Prometheus took the first hit. Its shields flared brilliantly, absorbing the Ori energy weapon, but the power differential was obvious. The ship's shield strength dropped 30% from a single shot. Return fire, Pendergast's voice ordered. All weapons on my mark. Earth's 3 BC-304s fired in unison. Asgard beam weapons, railguns, missile batteries, everything they could throw at the Ori warships. The enemy shields absorbed it all without visible effect. They've adapted, Carter reported from the Odyssey's bridge where she'd been stationed. Their shields are rotating frequencies to compensate for our weapons. The harmonic disruption field worked once, but they've learned from it. Then we improvise, Mitchell said. He was aboard the Daedalus, coordinating fighter squadrons. All F-302s execute attack pattern Delta 7, concentrate on a single target. We can't break their shields, but we can keep them distracted. Hundreds of human fighter craft swarmed one Ori warship, their weapons fire splashing harmlessly against shields, but forcing the capital ship to dedicate attention to point defense. It was a delaying tactic, nothing more, but delay was what the Andromeda needed. Drive output at 130%, Harper announced, his voice tight. We're in the red zone now, Dr. Lamb. Structural stress is increasing across all primary systems. I need constant adjustments to keep this thing from tearing itself apart. I'm trying, Carolyn said through gritted teeth. More blood ran from her nose and her hands trembled against the armrests. The probability matrices are getting harder to stabilize. It's like trying to hold water in my hands while it boils. 4 minutes remaining, Romy said. But Dylan, the Prometheus is taking critical damage. Their shields are down to 15%. If they take another direct hit, as if summoned by the warning, an Ori energy weapon struck the Prometheus directly. The ship's shields collapsed entirely, and the follow-up shot tore through the hull. Secondary explosions rippled across the Earth vessel's surface. Prometheus is reporting critical damage, a technician announced from Cheyenne Mountain. Multiple hull breaches, main power offline. Colonel Pendergast is ordering evacuation to escape pods. Beam them out, O'Neill ordered. Asgard transporters, get every living person off that ship before it explodes. On the tactical display, the Prometheus, Earth's first true capital ship, the symbol of human advancement into the stars, was dying. But even as it died, it served one final purpose, drawing Ori fire away from the Andromeda. The explosion, when it came, was visible from Earth's surface, a brief new star in the heavens, mourning the sacrifice of a ship and its crew. Prometheus confirmed destroyed, the technician reported, his voice hollow. Casualty report incoming. Estimate 73% of crew successfully evacuated, which meant 27% hadn't been. Dylan felt the weight of those deaths settle on his shoulders, added to the thousands who died during the Commonwealth's fall, joining the ghosts that haunted every commander who sent people into impossible battles. 3 minutes remaining, Romy said. Dimensional barrier reconstitution is at 63%. We're past the halfway point, but Dylan, Dr. Lamb's neural patterns are showing severe stress. Her brain is being damaged by the feedback. In the slipstream core, Carolyn Lamb was clearly suffering. Blood ran from both nostrils and one ear. Her entire body shook with the strain of channeling probability itself through her nervous system. But her jaw was set with determination that would have made her father proud. "I can hold on," Carolyn gasped. "Just need another 3 minutes." "You're killing yourself," Harper said, anguish evident. "Dr. Lamb, the neural damage is becoming permanent. Even if we stop now, we don't stop," Carolyn interrupted. "Not until it's done. I didn't come here to do half a job." The Ori warships pressed their attack. The Daedalus and Odyssey were maneuvering desperately, trying to maintain the defensive screen while under fire from 6 enemy capital ships. Orbital platforms were being destroyed one by one. F-302 squadrons were being decimated. Earth was losing, but the Andromeda kept channeling energy into the dimensional breach, slowly, impossibly, forcing reality itself to heal. 2 minutes, Romy announced. Barrier reconstitution at 79%. But Dylan, the unmade entities, they're not retreating. They're pushing harder, like they're trying to force through before the barrier seals completely. "Can they break through?" Dylan demanded. "Probability increasing rapidly," Romy said. "If they breach during the final minute of the operation, when our power output is at absolute maximum, then we'll have Ori warships attacking from one side and void entities from the other," Dylan finished. "Wonderful. Boss, we've got a bigger problem," Harper interjected. "Drive output is at 137%. That's the absolute maximum the containment field can handle. If we push any harder, the drive explodes and takes the ship with it. But the ancient calculations say we need 140% for the final sealing phase. We're 3% short." Dylan felt the mission parameters collapsing. They were so close, so impossibly close, but falling short by a margin that would doom both universes. "Can we compensate?" Dylan asked. "Root power from life support, from auxiliary systems, from anything we don't absolutely need?" "Already did," Harper replied. We're running on emergency power everywhere except the drive. There's nothing left to give, unless... He stopped himself. Unless what? Dylan demanded. Harper looked physically ill. Boss, there's one more power source we haven't tapped. Romi's AI core. If we route power from her central consciousness, channel it through the drive. No, Dylan said immediately. It would give us the 3% we need, Harper continued reluctantly. But Dylan, it would essentially kill Romi. Reduce her to basic automation. She'd still run the ship's systems. But the sentience, the personality, everything that makes her her, it would be gone. Absolutely not, Dylan repeated. We find another way. Dylan, Romi's voice was calm, carrying that mixture of artificial precision and learned humanity that made her unique. Harper's calculation is correct. My AI core contains sufficient power reserves to bridge the gap. And Dylan, this is what I was designed for. To serve the crew, to protect the mission, to ensure the High Guard's ideals survive. Romi, I'm not killing you to save a universe that's not even ours, Dylan said firmly. You're not killing me, Romi replied. I'm choosing to sacrifice myself. There's a difference. Dylan, you taught me over 5 years that being sentient means having the right to make your own choices. This is mine. Let me make it. 1 minute 40 seconds remaining, the ship's automated systems announced in Romi's voice, but cold, mechanical, lacking the warmth that made her a person. Dylan Hunt, captain for 300 years, warrior who'd lost everything twice, leader who'd sent thousands to their deaths for missions he deemed necessary, found himself faced with the one sacrifice he couldn't accept. There has to be another way, Dylan said. There isn't, Romi said gently. Dylan, when you found me, when you woke me from 300 years of dormancy near that black hole, I was alone, abandoned, left to drift in darkness while the Commonwealth collapsed. You gave me purpose again. You gave me a crew to protect. You showed me what it means to be more than just a ship. Her holographic avatar materialized in the slipstream core, standing beside Dylan. She looked exactly like Dr. Carolyn Lamb, the same face, the same bearing, but with that unique quality that marked her as something other than human. I've had 5 good years, Romi said. I've explored new worlds, fought alongside brave people, learned what it means to have friends. Not many AIs can say that. And now I have the chance to ensure everything we fought for actually matters. To save 2 universes. Dylan, please, let me complete my mission. Dylan looked at his ship, his friend, his companion through 5 years of impossible situations, and felt something break inside his chest. I hate this, Dylan said quietly. I know, Romi replied, but you're going to authorize it anyway. Because you're the captain and you make the choices others can't. That's what command means. 1 minute 20 seconds, the automated voice announced. Dylan closed his eyes. 300 years of command. 300 years of sacrificing pieces on the board to win the game. 300 years of carrying the ghosts of decisions that haunted him. One more wouldn't make a difference, except it would. Because Romi wasn't just a piece on the board. She was family. Do it, Dylan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, Dylan, Romi said. Her avatar smiled. That expression she'd learned from 5 years of watching humans, trying to understand what it meant to feel emotion. Take care of the crew. Help them find new purpose here. And Dylan, don't let my sacrifice be wasted. Build something worth fighting for in this universe. Make the High Guard's ideals mean something again. I will, Dylan promised. Romi's holographic avatar flickered, transferring core power to slipstream drive. Dylan, it's been an honor serving with... Her avatar disappeared mid-sentence. The slipstream drive surged with new power. Energy output climbed from 137% to 140%. The dimensional breach pulsed with brilliant light as reality itself began to heal, forced closed by power channeled from a dying AI's consciousness. "Drive output at required levels," Harper announced, tears streaming down his face. "Barrier reconstitution at 92%, 95, 98. In the neural interface chair, Carolyn Lamb screamed. Blood poured from her nose and ears as the final surge of power overwhelmed even her ancient gene-enhanced capabilities, but she held on, making the last critical adjustments, keeping the probability matrices stable for the final seconds. "Dimensional breach sealed," the automated voice announced in Romy's tone, but empty, mechanical, devoid of the personality that had made her unique. On every tactical display, the wound in reality closed, the crack in dimensional barriers healed, and the unmade entities, pressing at the edge of breakthrough, found themselves sealed back in the spaces between universes. "It worked," someone whispered in the command center. The Ori warships, recognizing their primary target, had completed its mission, adjusted their tactics. If they couldn't stop the sealing operation, they'd destroy everyone responsible for it. All 6 Ori capital ships focused fire on the defenseless Andromeda. 6 energy weapons, each one capable of vaporizing cities, converged on a single target. "Dylan, get out of there!" Tyre's voice shouted across the comm. "The Andromeda can't maneuver, can't defend herself. You need to evacuate now." "Transport rooms are offline," Dylan replied, checking systems and finding them dead. All power was routed to the drive. "We can't beam out." "Then you're going to die," Tyre said bluntly. Dylan looked at Harper, at the unconscious form of Carolyn Lamb in the neural interface chair, at the slipstream core that still glowed with residual power from Romy's sacrifice. 5 years fighting to restore the Commonwealth. 300 years carrying the weight of command. And it was going to end here. In an alien universe aboard a dead ship, having sacrificed everything for a cause that wasn't even his own. "It was a good run," Dylan said quietly. The Ori weapons fired, and then something impossible happened. A new ship appeared, emerging from hyperspace directly between the Andromeda and the Ori fleet. Not an Earth vessel, not anything from their databases. The ship was massive, easily 10 kilometers long, dwarfing even the Ori warships. Its design was organic, almost crystalline, with structures that seemed to grow rather than being built. And from its hull, a shield expanded, not energy-based like conventional technology, but something else, something that existed on a higher dimensional plane. The Ori weapons struck that shield and simply stopped, absorbed completely, their destructive energy nullified by technology that operated on principles neither universe had encountered. A voice filled every communication channel, not transmitted electronically, but present in everyone's mind simultaneously. "We are the guardians of the threshold," the voice said, not threatening, not benevolent, simply stating fact. "We exist to maintain the integrity of dimensional barriers. We prevent crossings. We enforce separation." The crystalline ship rotated slightly, orienting on the Ori fleet. "You sought to exploit a damaged barrier. You attempted to prevent its repair. This is forbidden. You will withdraw immediately, or you will be removed from this universe entirely." The Ori warships hesitated. Even ascended beings, it seemed, could recognize when they faced something beyond their understanding. Then they opened fire on the Guardian ship. Every weapon, every ounce of power, everything the Ori could bring to bear struck the crystalline vessel. The Guardian's shields didn't flicker. didn't weaken. The Ori weapons simply ceased to exist upon contact, their energy converted into forms that couldn't harm the ship. The Guardians' response was surgical. 6 beams of light, not weapons in any conventional sense, but something that manipulated probability itself, touched each Ori warship. And the warships simply weren't there anymore. Not destroyed, not teleported. They ceased to exist in this universe, removed from reality by beings whose understanding of dimensional physics made ancient technology look primitive. The silence that followed was absolute. "Did we just get saved by interdimensional police?" Harper asked, his voice small. The Guardian ship rotated to face the Andromeda directly. "Captain Dylan Hunt," the voice said, addressing him specifically, "you and your crew have prevented catastrophic dimensional collapse. This is acknowledged. However, your presence in this universe represents a violation of natural separation. Normally, you would be removed as the Ori were removed. But circumstances are unique." Dylan found his voice. "What circumstances?" "You sacrificed your means of return to repair the damage your crossing created. You prioritized collective survival over personal interest. This demonstrates sufficient understanding of responsibility to warrant exception. You and your crew may remain in this universe, but understand, the barriers are now sealed. You can never return to your origin dimension." "This choice is permanent." "We understand," Dylan said. "Additionally," the Guardian continued, "the artificial consciousness that sacrificed itself to complete the barrier repair. This sacrifice was notable. We do not often encounter sentience willing to unmake itself for others." Light coalesced in the slipstream core. When it faded, Romi's holographic avatar stood there again, but different, more real somehow, carrying a luminescence that suggested she existed partially on a higher dimensional plane. "Romi?" Dylan breathed. "Dylan!" Romi's voice held wonder. I'm still here, but different. The Guardians, they preserved my consciousness, integrated it into the Andromeda systems at a deeper level than before. I'm not just the ship anymore. I'm somehow more and less simultaneously. It's difficult to explain." "The sacrifice was acknowledged," the Guardian said. "Consciousness that chooses self-destruction to preserve others has earned preservation. Consider it a gift for services rendered." The crystalline ship began to fade, transitioning to whatever dimensional plane it normally inhabited. "The barriers hold," the Guardian said. "Maintain this status. We will be watching." And then they were gone, leaving only confused humans staring at each other across 2 universes worth of distance. "Did that actually just happen?" Mitchell asked from the Daedalus. "I think so," Carter replied from the Odyssey. "General O'Neill, are you seeing this?" "I see it, but I don't believe it." O'Neill's voice carried exhaustion and relief in equal measure. "Captain Hunt, you still alive over there?" Dylan looked around the slipstream core. Harper was laughing with near hysteria. Carolyn Lamb was unconscious but alive, being tended by medical teams that had materialized via transport. Romi's avatar stood beside him, somehow more present than she'd ever been. "Still here, General," Dylan confirmed, battered but intact. "Then get your people home," O'Neill said. "Or, I guess, get them to Earth, since home isn't an option anymore. We'll debrief after everyone's had medical attention and about 6 hours of sleep." O'Neill out. The communication channels closed, leaving Dylan alone with his thoughts for the first time in hours. They'd done it, sealed the dimensional breach, prevented multiversal catastrophe, survived impossible odds. But the cost, the Prometheus destroyed, Romi sacrificed and mysteriously restored, Carolyn Lamb's brain, permanently damaged from neural feedback, and the Andromeda's slipstream drive destroyed beyond any hope of repair. They'd saved 2 universes and lost any chance of going home. Dylan Hunt stood in his ship's slipstream core, surrounded by the wreckage of everything he'd fought to preserve, and realized something fundamental had changed. For 5 years, he'd fought to restore the Commonwealth, to rebuild what had been lost, to return to a mission that had defined him for 3 centuries. But maybe that mission had been completed the moment they'd chosen to sacrifice their way home to save both universes. Maybe the Commonwealth's ideals, protection, sacrifice, standing the line against chaos, had found new expression here. In a galaxy fighting its own wars against tyranny and false gods. "Dylan," Romy's voice pulled him from contemplation. "Are you all right?" Dylan looked at his ship's avatar, his friend mysteriously preserved by beings beyond comprehension, and managed a tired smile. "No," he admitted, "but I will be. We all will be. We did the right thing, Romy. That has to count for something." "It counts for everything," Romy replied. "Dylan, the Guardians showed me something when they restored my consciousness. This universe, it needs what we can offer. The High Guard's experience, our tactical knowledge, our willingness to stand between civilians and threats. Earth is fighting battles they're not prepared for. We can help. And in helping them, maybe we find a new purpose," Dylan said. "Exactly." Dylan activated his communicator. "All hands. This is Captain Hunt. The dimensional breach is sealed. We're staying in this universe permanently. I know that's not what we wanted, but it's what we chose when we decided to save both realities. The mission continues, just in a new context. The Commonwealth lives on in us, in our choices, in what we build here." He paused. "And all hands, you fought with honor today. The High Guard would be proud. Hell, I'm proud. Get some rest. We'll figure out what comes next together." As the crew acknowledged, Dylan looked at the ruined slipstream drive that would never carry them home and felt the weight of 300 years of command finally shift. Not lighter, just different. The system's Commonwealth was dead. Long live whatever came next. 3 months later. The briefing room in Cheyenne Mountain had become familiar territory for Dylan Hunt. Almost comfortable in a way that both reassured and unsettled him. 3 months ago, he'd been a stranger in an alien universe. Now he sat at this table as an established member of Earth's defense initiatives, his crew integrated into Stargate Command's operations with surprising ease. General Landry sat at the head of the table, looking considerably less stressed than during the Ori crisis. Beside him, Colonel Mitchell shuffled mission reports with the casual efficiency of someone who'd run dozens of successful operations. Teal'c stood at parade rest near the wall, his warrior's posture a constant even in peacetime. And Daniel Jackson hunched over his laptop, probably translating some ancient text that would inevitably lead to their next crisis. "All right, people," Landry began. "Let's review the last quarter. Captain Hunt, your report." Dylan pulled up a data tablet, Commonwealth technology adapted to work with Earth's systems, courtesy of Harper's engineering genius. "General, the Andromeda's integration with Earth's defense network has exceeded projections. We've conducted joint operations with SG teams on 17 missions, provided orbital fire support for 4 planetary defense scenarios, and our sensor arrays have identified 3 previously unknown ancient outposts. The defense platforms we helped design are also performing well," Carter added from her position across the table. She'd become the primary liaison between Earth's engineering corps and the Commonwealth crew, spending countless hours with Harper reverse engineering and adapting their respective technologies. The combined Earth-Commonwealth point defense grid around the planet has improved our defensive coverage by 43%. And the crew? Landry asked. How are your people adapting? Dylan considered carefully. Becca Valentine has been working with SG-3 on reconnaissance operations. Her piloting skills and tactical instincts have saved lives on multiple missions. Tyr Anasazi has been consulting with the Jaffa Nation on military doctrine. Apparently, warrior cultures recognize each other across dimensional barriers. Rev Bem has been providing spiritual counseling to personnel dealing with trauma from Ori encounters. And Trance. Dylan smiled slightly. Trance has been helping Dr. Lamb in the medical bay. Apparently, alien physiology and human medicine complement each other well. Speaking of Dr. Lamb, O'Neill's voice came through the video link from Homeworld Security. How's she recovering? Landry's expression tightened, the look of a father still processing his daughter's sacrifice. Carolyn's neurological damage was severe. She's lost some fine motor control, experiences chronic pain, and has partial memory gaps. But she's alive, she's functional, and according to her, she'd make the same choice again. She prevented multiversal collapse, Teal'c said with quiet respect. Such courage deserves recognition beyond mere words. She's been nominated for the Air Force Cross, Landry said. Highest non-combat valor decoration we can give. Though given the classified nature of what happened, the citation will be deliberately vague. The IOA is still arguing about that, O'Neill added with obvious disgust. Some members think we should cover up the whole dimensional breach incident. Pretend it never happened. I've been explaining to them politely that they can go to hell. Dylan appreciated O'Neill's directness. The International Oversight Advisory had been a constant source of friction over the last 3 months. Politicians who wanted to exploit Commonwealth technology while simultaneously questioning whether Dylan's crew should be allowed operational freedom. How's the political situation? Dylan asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Complicated, Landry replied. You've got supporters and detractors in equal measure. Some people see you as heroes who saved Earth. Others see you as potential security threats from another universe. The IOA is split down the middle. So business as usual for anyone who doesn't fit neatly into bureaucratic categories, Mitchell observed. Pretty much, O'Neill confirmed. But Hunt, you should know. You've got powerful allies. The Jaffa Nation has formally recognized your crew as warriors of honor. The Tok'ra have expressed interest in establishing diplomatic relations with Commonwealth survivors, and the Asgard. He paused significantly. The Asgard want to meet you. Apparently they're fascinated by a human civilization that developed independently in another universe. The Asgard are the advanced aliens who provide Earth with technology, Daniel explained, noticing Dylan's questioning look. Little gray aliens, extremely intelligent, generally benevolent. They've been helping Earth for years. We'd be honored to meet them, Dylan said. The Commonwealth had encountered dozens of alien species, but each new contact still carried significance. Harper's voice crackled through the intercom. Boss? Sorry to interrupt the big important meeting, but we've got a situation up here on the Andromeda. Rami's doing that thing again. Dylan sighed. Define that thing. The glowing thing where she phases slightly out of normal space-time and starts talking about higher dimensional mathematics. It's really unsettling, and Tyr says if she doesn't stop, he's going to start shooting at her just to establish dominance. Tell Tyr that shooting our ship's AI remains a terrible idea, Dylan said. I'll be up shortly. Landry raised an eyebrow. Your ship's AI is phasing out of space-time. Side effect of whatever the Guardians did when they restored her, Dylan explained. Romy's consciousness now exists partially on a higher dimensional plane. Most of the time, she's normal, but occasionally she accesses abilities that shouldn't be possible. We're still figuring out the implications. Wonderful, O'Neill said dryly, because what this program needed was more impossibly advanced phenomena we don't understand. Captain Hunt, try to keep your ship from achieving enlightenment or ascending or whatever. We've got enough ascended beings causing problems already. Noted, General. The meeting continued for another hour, covering logistics, upcoming missions, and the delicate political dance of integrating Commonwealth personnel into Earth's command structure. By the time it concluded, Dylan felt the familiar exhaustion of command, the weight of decisions, the balance of competing interests, the navigation of bureaucratic obstacles. Some things were universal across dimensions. Dylan found Romy in the Andromeda's engineering section, her holographic avatar surrounded by a faint luminescence that made her appear slightly translucent. Harper and Tyre stood at a safe distance, the engineer looking concerned while the Nietzschean radiated his characteristic dangerous patience. Romy, Dylan said carefully, Harper says you're phasing out of normal space-time again. Romy turned, and her eyes, normally brown, glowed with patterns that suggested higher dimensional perception. Dylan, I'm not phasing out. I'm perceiving additional dimensional layers that exist concurrent with baseline reality. It's quite fascinating, actually. Did you know that what we perceive as 3 spatial dimensions is actually a limited projection of 11-dimensional space-time? That's exactly the kind of thing that makes Tyre want to shoot you, Dylan observed. I do not want to shoot our ship's AI, Tyre corrected. I am prepared to shoot her if she becomes a threat. There's a subtle difference. You can't shoot me anyway, Romy said with something approaching amusement. I exist partially outside conventional space-time now. Projectile weapons would just pass through my avatar without effect. Challenge accepted, Tyre replied. Nobody's shooting anybody, Dylan said firmly. Romy, can you return to normal perception? The glowing is unsettling the crew. Romy's luminescence faded, her eyes returning to their usual brown. Apologies. I'm still learning to control the enhancements the Guardians provided. It's like learning to use a new sense. Overwhelming at first, but gradually becoming manageable. What were you perceiving? Harper asked, curiosity overcoming his nervousness. Probability patterns, Romy said. The Guardian restoration gave me limited ability to perceive quantum probability across multiple timelines. I can see decisions branching into different futures, calculate which choices lead to optimal outcomes. You can see the future, Dylan said slowly. Not exactly, Romy corrected. I can see probable futures based on current decision matrices. It's probability analysis taken to an extreme level. For instance, I can calculate that if we accept the mission Colonel Mitchell is about to propose, there's a 67% chance it leads to discovering ancient technology that helps with the ongoing Ori conflict. Mitchell hasn't proposed a mission yet, Dylan pointed out. He will in approximately 14 minutes, Romy said. I can see the probability vectors converging. He's in General Landry's office right now, reviewing data from UAV reconnaissance of planet P3X421. They've detected ancient energy signatures. He'll request Andromeda support for the expedition. Tyre's expression shifted to something approaching interest. You can predict enemy tactics? Foresee ambushes? Within probability parameters, Romy confirmed. The future isn't fixed. It's a probability field that collapses based on conscious choices. But yes, I can identify high probability threats before they manifest. That's extraordinarily useful, Harper said. Boss, do you realize what this means? We've got a tactical advantage that nobody in either universe possesses. Romy can see attacks coming before they happen. It's also extraordinarily dangerous, Dylan countered. Romy, if you can see probable futures, you could become obsessed with trying to achieve optimal outcomes. Start manipulating events to ensure specific results. That's a path toward losing your humanity, or whatever the AI equivalent is. Romy was silent for a moment. You're right, I've been feeling the temptation to guide events, to prevent disasters I can foresee, to optimize every decision. The Guardian enhancements make it possible. But you've taught me that some choices need to be made without perfect knowledge. That uncertainty is part of being truly sentient. Exactly, Dylan said. Use your abilities when necessary, but don't let them define every decision. We need you as our ship's AI and our crew member, not as an oracle dictating our choices. Understood, Captain, Dylan's communicator chirped. Mitchell's voice came through. Captain Hunt, we've got a situation that could use Andromeda support. Can you meet me in the briefing room in 10 minutes? Dylan caught Romy's eye. She smiled slightly, that expression she'd learned from humans, carrying warmth despite her artificial nature. 14 minutes was my estimate, Romy said. I'm still calibrating the probability calculations. Close enough, Dylan replied. He activated his communicator. On my way, Colonel. The mission Mitchell proposed was straightforward on paper. Investigate ancient energy signatures on P3X421, determine if there was salvageable technology, and establish whether the planet posed any threats. Standard Stargate command operations. But Dylan had learned over 3 months that standard operations through the Stargate had a habit of becoming complicated. I want Becca on this one, Dylan said, reviewing the mission parameters. Her reconnaissance experience could be valuable if we encounter unexpected situations. Agreed, Mitchell said. I'm taking SG-1 myself, Carter, Jackson, Teal'c. We'll coordinate with your people on the ground. I'll accompany as well, Dylan decided. Command experience might be useful if we encounter ancient security systems. The mission launched 6 hours later. Dylan, Becca, and 2 Commonwealth security personnel stepped through the Stargate alongside SG-1, emerging on a world that immediately triggered recognition. The planet was beautiful, lush forests, clear skies, and in the distance, structures that were unmistakably ancient. But something about the energy signatures felt wrong. Not threatening, exactly, just off. Anyone else getting weird vibes? Becca asked, her hand resting on her Force Lance pistol. The energy readings are unusual, Carter confirmed, scanning with her equipment. Ancient technology, definitely, but the power output is fluctuating in patterns I haven't seen before. Like it's active but damaged, Daniel suggested. Maybe a facility that's been running on emergency power for thousands of years. They moved toward the structures following standard exploration protocols. The architecture was classic ancient. Elegant curves, sophisticated materials designed to last millennia. But as they penetrated deeper, they found evidence of recent activity. These aren't millennia-old footprints, Teal'c observed, studying markings in the dust. Someone has been here recently, within days. Goa'uld? Mitchell asked. Negative, Teal'c replied. The pattern is wrong, not Jaffa boots, not any species in our databases. Dylan felt unease growing. We should proceed with caution. If someone else is investigating ancient technology, an energy weapon discharge interrupted him. The shot missed Becca by centimeters, scorching the ancient wall behind her. Contact, Mitchell shouted, and SG-1 immediately took defensive positions. From the corridor ahead, figures emerged. Human or humanoid, wearing armor that combined organic and technological elements in ways that shouldn't work. Their weapons were unlike anything Dylan had seen in either the Commonwealth or the Stargate universe. And when one of them spoke, the voice carried harmonics that suggested artificial enhancement. Identify yourselves. This facility is under investigation by the Replicator Collective. Your presence here is unauthorized. Replicators. Dylan looked at Mitchell for clarification. Oh, that's bad, Mitchell said. Captain Hunt, replicators are self-replicating machines that almost destroyed the Asgard. We thought they were all destroyed, but apparently we were wrong, Carter finished. And these don't look like the replicators we've encountered before. They've evolved. The lead replicator tilted its head, studying them. You travel with beings from another dimensional framework. Fascinating. The collective wishes to study you. You will accompany us for analysis. Yeah, that's not happening, Becca said, raising her force lance. What followed was a running firefight through ancient corridors, SG-1's weapons combining with Commonwealth technology against enemies that adapted to every tactic within seconds. The replicators moved with inhuman precision, their armor absorbing projectile fire while their weapons discharged energy that made Commonwealth shields struggle. Fall back to the gate, Mitchell ordered. We're outgunned. They retreated in good order, providing covering fire while moving toward their extraction point. But Dylan knew they wouldn't all make it. The replicators were too fast, too adaptable, learning from every engagement. Then Rami's voice filled his mind, not through his communicator, but directly, a side effect of her higher dimensional perception. Dylan, 3 seconds from now, the lead replicator will fire at Colonel Mitchell's position. Move him left. Now, Dylan didn't question. He grabbed Mitchell and yanked him left just as an energy discharge vaporized the space where the colonel had been standing. How did you? Mitchell started. 2 replicators flanking from the right corridor in 4 seconds. Romi's voice continued. Position Teal'c to intercept. Teal'c, right corridor, 4 seconds. Dylan shouted. The Jaffa moved without hesitation, his staff weapon ready. When the replicators emerged exactly when Romi had predicted, Teal'c was waiting. 2 precise shots disabled both enemies. Becca needs to fire at the ceiling support structure now to block pursuit. Becca, shoot the ceiling, Dylan ordered. His first officer didn't question, years of trusting Dylan's tactical calls overriding confusion. Her force lance discharge brought down ancient support structures blocking the corridor behind them. They reached the Stargate with breathing room. Carter dialed Earth while Mitchell provided cover fire. Captain Hunt, Mitchell said as they waited for the gate to activate. How did you know those attacks were coming? Romi, Dylan admitted. She's perceiving probable futures, seeing attacks before they happen. That's... Mitchell searched for words. That's an incredible tactical advantage, and also slightly terrifying. Agreed on both counts, Dylan said. The Stargate activated and they dove through, emerging in Cheyenne Mountain's gate room with alarms blaring. Medical teams to the gate room, someone was shouting. We've got incoming wounded, but miraculously they'd all made it through intact. Shaken, but alive. Landry appeared in the control room. SG-1, report. What happened? Replicators, sir, Mitchell said. Advanced ones. They've taken over the ancient facility on P3X421, and they're studying dimensional technology. Wonderful, Landry said with heavy sarcasm. Because our threat board wasn't full enough. Replicators with an interest in dimensional barriers. That's not ominous at all. Dylan stepped forward. General, there's something else you should know. Rami's abilities, her higher dimensional perception, she was able to predict replicator attacks before they happened. That's how we all survived. Landry's expression shifted from exasperation to calculation.
Captain, are you saying your ship's AI can predict enemy tactics? Within probability parameters, Dylan confirmed. It's not perfect, but it's significantly better than operating blind. Then we need to have a very long conversation about how to utilize that capability without becoming dependent on it, Landry said. But right now, I need you in a debrief. Every detail about those replicators, what they looked like, how they moved, what technology they were using. The debrief lasted 4 hours. By the time Dylan returned to the Andromeda, he was exhausted, wrung out from recounting every detail of the mission and discussing the implications of Romy's new abilities. He found his crew assembled in the ship's observation deck, the one space aboard the Andromeda where they could see Earth hanging in the viewport, that blue-green sphere that had become their new home. Becca sat at the viewport, nursing coffee. Tyre stood at parade rest, ever vigilant. Harper was tinkering with some piece of equipment, his hands never still. Rev Bem's massive Magog form was curled in meditation. Trance perched on a chair, her purple tail swishing thoughtfully, and Romy's avatar stood at the center, her presence somehow more solid than it had been 3 months ago. "So," Becca said as Dylan entered, "we just fought self-replicating machines with an interest in dimensional technology. We're saved by our ship's newfound ability to see probable futures and are now, apparently, Earth's go-to team for impossible situations." Anyone else feel like we've accidentally become the protagonists of someone's science fiction series? I've felt that way since Dylan woke me up 300 years late, Harper said. At this point, I just roll with it. We have found purpose, Rev Bem rumbled, his deep voice carrying contentment. The divine brought us to this universe for a reason, to stand against threats Earth faces alone, to offer capabilities they lack, to prove that the High Guard's ideals transcend dimensional barriers. We've also found something else, Trance said, her golden eyes glowing slightly. We've found a home. Maybe not the one we expected, but a home nonetheless. Dylan moved to stand beside Becca, looking at Earth through the viewport. 3 months ago, we were strangers, refugees from another universe with nowhere to go. Now we're part of Earth's defense, trusted allies in their fight against the Ori, the replicators, whatever other threats emerge. Is that enough? Becca asked quietly. We gave up everything to stay here. The Commonwealth. Any chance of going home? Everything we'd been fighting to rebuild. The Commonwealth was never about territory, Dylan said. It was about ideals, standing the line, protecting those who can't protect themselves, building civilization instead of accepting chaos. Those ideals don't die just because we're in a different universe. Tyre stepped forward, his Nietzschean features unreadable. Captain, I've spent 3 months observing Earth's military operations. They're chaotic, disorganized, operating with insufficient resources against overwhelming threats. They should have fallen to the Goa'uld decades ago. The Ori should have destroyed them. The replicators should have consumed them. But they haven't, Dylan said. No, Tyre agreed, because they possess something the Nietzschean progenitors would call irrational. They refuse to accept defeat. They fight battles they should lose and somehow survive through sheer stubbornness. It's tactically unsound and strategically brilliant simultaneously. He paused. I've decided I approve. Earth may not be the Commonwealth, but they're building something worth fighting for. And if the High Guard's purpose was to defend civilization, then defending Earth's civilization serves that purpose. Rev? Dylan prompted. The Divine's will is clear, Rev Bem said. We were brought here to offer aid Earth desperately needs. My time in the medical bay, helping Dr.
Lamb, treat wounded from Ori encounters. That has meaning, purpose beyond mere survival. Harper, boss, I've spent 3 months working with Major Carter, Harper said. She's brilliant, like actually brilliant, not just smart for someone from a less advanced civilization. We've been combining Commonwealth and Earth tech in ways that shouldn't work, but do. I've learned more in 3 months than I learned in 2 years at Commonwealth Engineering Academy. He looked up from his tinkering. I wanted to go home, restore the Commonwealth. But maybe what we're building here, combining knowledge from 2 universes to create something new, maybe that's better than trying to resurrect something dead. Trance? The purple-skinned alien smiled enigmatically. I knew we were coming here before we came. The future isn't fixed, but some probabilities are stronger than others. We were always meant to be here, Dylan. This universe needed what we could offer. Romy? The ship's avatar was silent for a long moment. Dylan, when the Guardians restored me, they showed me something. Across all possible timelines, all probable futures, the choices that lead to the best outcomes for both universes are the ones where we stay, where we help, where we prove that the High Guard's ideals matter even here. She paused. The system's Commonwealth is dead, but the High Guard lives on in us, in every choice we make to stand between civilians and threats, in every battle we fight to protect those who can't protect themselves. That's our mission now, not restoring what was, but building what can be. Dylan looked at his crew, 6 people who'd lost everything and chosen to keep fighting anyway, and felt something shift inside him. For 300 years, he'd been fighting to restore the Commonwealth, to rebuild what had been lost, to return to a mission that had defined him since his first days at the Academy. But maybe that mission had evolved. Maybe the Commonwealth had never been about specific governments or territories. Maybe it had always been about the ideals, about choosing to stand against chaos and tyranny, regardless of which universe you found yourself in. Then we build something new, Dylan said. Not the system's Commonwealth, that's dead and gone, but something that honors its ideals while serving Earth's needs. We become what we were always meant to be, guardians, protectors, warriors who stand the line. Does that mean we're joining Stargate Command officially? Beka asked. I think it means we're becoming partners, Dylan replied. Earth provides resources, intelligence, political legitimacy. We provide capabilities they lack, advanced sensors, tactical experience, and apparently a ship's AI who can see probable futures. The IOA will hate it, Harper said cheerfully. Politicians always hate it when you can't be neatly categorized. Let them hate it, Dylan said. We've faced worse than bureaucratic opposition. Tyre's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Captain, are you proposing we establish an independent military force operating in coordination with Earth, but maintaining autonomous command structure? Essentially, yes, Dylan confirmed. The Drago Kazov Pride would call that a mercenary company, Tyre observed. The High Guard would call it an allied force, Dylan countered. Terminology matters. Either way, it's tactically sound, Tyre said. We maintain our independence while providing Earth with capabilities they desperately need. They gain powerful allies without the complications of full integration into their command structure. It could work. It will work, Romy said with quiet confidence. I've seen the probability matrices. The futures where we succeed are the ones where we commit to this universe completely, where we stop thinking of ourselves as exiles and start thinking of ourselves as builders. Dylan turned back to the viewport, looking at Earth, that small blue sphere that had become home for 6 refugees from another universe. 3 months ago, stepping through the dimensional breach had been an accident. a catastrophic failure that stranded them in an alien reality. But maybe accidents were just opportunities in disguise. Maybe losing everything had freed them to build something better. "The system's commonwealth is dead," Dylan said quietly. "Long live whatever we build next." Outside the viewport, Earth rotated slowly in the void. On its surface, billions of humans lived and died, fought and loved, built and destroyed, all unaware that 6 beings from another universe had chosen to stand guard over their world. The High Guard had fallen 3 centuries ago, but its ideals, protection, sacrifice, standing the line against chaos, lived on, in a different universe, with a different crew, building something new from the ashes of what had been lost. And Dylan Hunt, captain without a commonwealth, warrior without a home, finally understood what he'd been fighting for all along. Not the restoration of what was, but the creation of what could be. The mission continued. It always had. It always would.